good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from for the Formula X Premier X Round 11 of the championship as we make our way to Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix with our our first ever Premier X champion. Iceman took the championship last time out, round 10 at the Belgium Grand Prix. He can sit back, he can relax now a little bit. I'm Yousuf bin-Suhayl, joined once again by Jacob
Hancox. Maiden, I think, is technically correct, but Iceman, you never know. He might not take kindly to being called a maiden, so makes sense to avoid it. But very much looking forward to the Brazilian Grand Prix today. Always tends to be one of the tracks that throws up some of the better racing on the calendar, especially when the weather gets involved. I'm not sure if we're going to have any of that today or not, actually, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, who knows? There might be some weather. Actually, I just remembered we can check that on the old website. No, I think it's meant to be dry.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. Sadly,
well, there you go. Never mind.
No rain to come. But as you did mention, Jacob, Brazil, a track that a lot of drivers do particularly like, and they do enjoy the circuit, despite myself not particularly being a massive favorite, but 2 long straights, 2 big overtaking zones here.
Yeah, of course. So you can overtake into turn 1, you can overtake into turn 4. You can't really overtake anywhere else, but having 2 overtaking zones is more than quite a lot of F1 tracks on the calendar at the moment. There you see it. You see the on the track map there, just into turn 1 and then into turn 4. You can potentially consider an overtake into turn 6. That's Ferradura, the horseshoe. But it's very high speed through there, and it requires some serious bravery if you want to make the move there.
A lot of bravery indeed. However, we've got a lot of stuff coming your way in our pre-race show. More talk about the circuit, more looks at the championship standings, drivers and constructors, and a hot lap coming your way, as well as an interview. But before we do get into all of that, let's take a look at what happened last week at the British. At the Belgium Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Of course, the Williams on the front row of the grid. Keep an eye out in the background for Lil Cheg. That's a Lord Chegwin, who's currently 7th in the championship and has been picking up big results lately. He's starting down in P14 after running out in qualifying. But 5 red lights, it's lights out. We wait for the delay. And that is a start from someone. There's a drive-through penalty for Lord Chegwin. That is absolutely horrendous for him. Mahavir got off really well. I'm not sure if he picked up a drive-through, but Sipos leads the way from Iceman. He's jumped ahead in the confusion. There are cars losing their back ends left, right, and center. But thankfully, nobody is in the wall just yet. I think that's about 4 abreast heading down into Eau Rouge. People are ghosting, driving through each other. Kenneth goes completely wide, loses the back end. I think he spun and dropped to the back of the grid as well. Indeed, he has. It's only Turex who is behind him now, but Mahavir leads from Sipos and Iceman as Mahavir drops down the order. We're going to see what's happened in just a second.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Mahavir. This might be part of the desynchronization we've been having with the Indian driver. Evidently, the lights went out at a different time to everyone else, but the game did give him a drive-through penalty regardless. I wonder if it's given him one on his end. It might be wing damage for Sipos. I didn't see if he collided with his teammates at all. Maybe with the car of Mahavir, because we saw that going alarmingly slowly at one point. Chegwin's into the pits, Outlaws into the pits, Elon Tusk as well, who looked like he had an incident on the exit of Stavilo or Curveball Frere last time. He lost a couple of positions there, and now he's had to head into the pits as well. Sipos coming out already, so I think that was a drive-through for Sipos. We might have missed that one on the bottom of the screen. And Ruben looking like he's actually maybe thinking about a move on Iceman. He's very close behind the Macedonian, but Iceman holds on to the position for the time being. Turix up into P10, of course. He didn't have to go through the pits when so many others did, so he's been able to benefit there. Connor Sheridan falling down the order, a bit disappointing for him, as that Sipos making his way back up through the field after his drive-through penalty, I believe, is what happened to him as he makes his way up past Turex and past Sudek as well. Over the course of one flat-out section of track, he's passed 2 drivers. This is, well, if this... But here is Luppy now in the slipstream of Ruben as Mahavir makes his way to the top of the standings. I think we can ignore that one, but here comes Luppy. trying to blast past before they even get to the braking zone. It's going to have to beat him on the brakes into late Comedy. Doesn't do so, but Ruben getting too late on the brakes, running wide, won't be able to make the chicane, and will have to give the position up to Luppy, who makes his way up into P2 now. Ruben falling down to P3.
P3, that's Ruben. Don't be fooled by Mahavir being first on your screen. As here comes Maverick down the inside on Wheeze Racing.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's getting squeezed, and that was always going to happen.
Faster than Iceman.
Oh, here comes
Iceman,
Sipos.
here's his teammate Sipos looking up the inside of Maverick, not going for the dive bomb. Not beginning of Sector 3 on that last lap. Really close behind Maverick. But he has the disadvantage of Maverick also having a slipstream of A2 UK. Might not have to worry too much about it, though, as into La Source. Later on the brakes means the Williams driver takes the position away. Maverick will go for the cutback. Backup is inside. That'll give him a better run all the way along the Kennel Straight, as long as he can manage it through Eau Rouge and Radion. Side by side they go, and it's Sipos around the outside. That is unbelievable driving from the Hungarian, but it's not over yet. Maverick trying to fight back now. The British driver in the Ferrari will have the opportunity into Lecom. He's already sent it up the inside, and there's been tears once already this race for him. Happens again. There's contact again, but this time doesn't fool around. But it is the Williams of Sipos that holds on to the position, and he finally makes his way up into P8.
Linked via some forms of black magics here going on, but Weezer is on the back of Ruben, really closing up, and these two are having a right old scrap. Weez on the outside as we make our way down towards the La Source. Very late on the brakes there does Weez go, and that's going to give Ruben a great opportunity. Ruben slots in behind, and he's not going to try the same thing that Sipos did just a few moments ago. P12, because he's really closing in onto Turix, and he's just made the move as well down into the bus stop chicane. Turix gets a little bit feisty, and he taps the rear end of the racing point, but that's Lord Checkwin up to P11. Well, actually P10, because Mahavir.
Luppy seems to have got to that point where you're half a second behind the car ahead and you just get stuck there. Ruben into the pits, Sipos into the pits as well. Ruben was actually losing quite a lot of pace on the last couple of laps, so I wonder if he was starting to feel some tyre wear.
Oh, Maverick's having a go at A2 UK for P5 right now, down into the chicane.
No.
Deja vu for the Ferrari driver on the inside, I'm pretty sure, once again, and contact with the side of the McLaren. Maverick, he is going to be absolutely fuming right now.
With a 3-second time penalty, he's going to be so frustrated with how this race has gone. 2 spins already in wheel-to-wheel combat. Iceman heads into the pits. Luppy does the opposite.
Out relative to the Williams of Sipos, who is crossing the start-finish line now, round the outside of Kennis as well for P7. Where is Owen? Owen's making his way through La Source and will feed out behind the pair, and actually in between the 2 racing points.
For this one, unfortunately, Luppy into the pits from the race lead. Will almost certainly be undercut by Iceman, though Iceman did have the second half of his lap compromised by being behind A2 UK, who now heads into the pits.
Oh, Luppy's already off.
The Macedonian driver going through La Source now. They're almost side by side with a wall between them. Luppy's not going to be up to speed quite as quickly as Iceman in track position. I think he might have done it. Look at the gap. It's not even that close. From the Renault driver to keep it ahead of Ruben, who definitely had an opportunity to try and claw back to P3. There's Sipos all over his back now as they head down the Kemmel Straight. It's going to be Sipos on the outside, Ruben taking the inside, but he's not even going to be anywhere near close enough when they get to the braking zone to think about defending that one. So we might see a 3-way battle for P9 sooner rather than later. Luppy with a 3-second time penalty, and that might have just thrown it all away for the Mercedes driver. Moment, Sipos makes it 12 seconds of penalties for himself. That's going to be some solace for Ruben, who doesn't have the pace, but will have the consistency. And oh no!
Oh,
that's Sipos. Is that into the wall? Is he just retired on purpose?
Can we ride on board with Owen here, actually? Because he's about to approach. If we just sit on board with his cockpit view.
Where?
It's a car.
It's gone. It's been cleared away. Yeah, that's a pretty ignominious end to his title
But here
challenge.
comes
As now
Chegwin.
Chegwin around the outside of the first part of the bus stop chicane will make it past Kenners. Kenners not being able to fight back through part 2 of that chicane will slipstream him down up towards Last Source, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. His intermediates. It's interesting that Kenners can't seem to hang with these two at the moment, despite the tire delta between himself and the Alfa Romeo. But now you see Elon Tusk struggling through Blanchimont, can't break late enough into the bus stop, and Lil Chegwin up into P7 now. Good recovery drive from him. He has, major tank slapper on the exit, but manages to get the traction down well enough.
Hasn't picked up a time penalty all race. He's kept it clean. He's done what he's had to. Luppy has shown phenomenal pace and will take the win out on circuit. They make their way through the bus stop chicane. You can start the fanfare because while Luppy takes the win here at Spa, it is Iceman who takes the Premier Exit Championship. But that is your top 10. Iceman from Luppy, from Weiss, from Ruben, Owen in 5th, Maverick in 6th, Lord Chegwin in P7, Elon Tusk, Mahavir, and Kenners complete the top 10.
Well, a fantastic race last time out at Spa, in the wet as well. And we do know that the wet can really dampen the quality of racing, but that was not the case. A fantastic drive from Luppy. Sadly picked up a couple too many time penalties, and Iceman was able to take his championship win with a win at Spa. However, let's take a look at what that means for the Drivers' Championship standings. Iceman, of course, is our championship winner, broken into 400 points, and still has the chance as well of making it to 500 if he can get pretty much 2 perfect race weekends back to end his championship campaign. His teammate Sipples in second place after his DNF, just 28 points ahead of Elon Tusk in third. Maverick a further 7 points behind, in that battle for second place really starting to heat up. We then have a bit of a jump down to Owen AK in 5th place, who's got Kenners and Chegwin slowly closing in, and don't count out the likes of A2 UK and Ruben, who have showed a lot of pace this season, but have been lacking that consistency just a little bit. Lowenkirk completes the top 10 in that second Red Bull.
Yeah, and then you just got the rest of the tail enders, the likes of Turek, Sudek, Outlaw, sort of guys you'd be expecting, and then Mahavir, who has not had a single clean race, not usually through any fault of his own, usually completely due to lag or that sort of thing. But he's really would have more points if he could really show his pace, but he's been hampered in quite a lot of ways. Connor Sheridan, P15, Aries 16th, has had a pretty spotty attendance record, and Seb, who's actually attended, 3 races now and has failed to finish any of them, so still sitting on 0 points, but definitely someone with a lot of pace to watch out for as well. And yeah, just looking at the Drivers' Championship, a bit of a civil war brewing maybe between the 2 racing points. Kenners and Chegwin battling over P6. Currently 151 plays 146, but Chegwin has in general been on hotter form of late than Kenners has, and he's been faster at the more recent races. So Chegwin will definitely feel like there's this big opportunity for him to get into that top 6.
Yeah, and I really want to look towards Elon Tusk as well, and almost, I guess, kind of low-key flame, but Elon Tusk recently, he hasn't been having those performances. And to flip that back on its head, this is entirely down to the good performances that Elon Tusk was able to bring out towards the start of the season, consistently being able to find those bigger points. And he now finds himself in this situation. Sure, there's a lot of pressure behind him, but he's doing a decent job. Last time out was able to get P8, but you've got the likes of Owen, Maverick, and especially Chegwin as well, really starting to chip down that gap for P3. And there is going to be a bit of a hunt for Elon Tusk to really defend against.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's a fairly sizable gap to anyone other than Maverick, but depending on how well Owen, AK, Kenners, and Chegwin do in the next few races, they could potentially be just scratching the bottom. I mean, only a couple of races left in the season, of course. So I do think it's really mainly Maverick that Elon has to watch out for. I think he's done enough to retain a spot in the top 6 no matter what happens. So that's very good news for the Canadian. And even when he hasn't necessarily had the pace in recent races, he's still been getting some pretty solid points. He's been doing a good job. I think last time out, he was one of the very few drivers not to pick up a time penalty for corner cutting, for instance. So Elon Tusk is doing the right things, even though he kind of has a bit of a lack of pace towards the end of this season, as the field has tended to get stronger throughout with the arrival of the likes of Ruben, Mahavir, Seb, these sorts of guys, Chegwin as well, halfway through the season. So why don't we now go and take a look quickly at the Constructors' Championship as well.
Please do.
So, yeah, here you go. You see it. So, Williams comfortably on top. You could halve their points. They'd still be on top. So, that's the Williams with 748, which is just incredible from Iceman and Sipos. Those guys have been really something special this season. And the Racing Points, as we mentioned, bit of a civil war brewing between those. Kenneth and Chegwin in P2 on 339. Ever such a slight drop down to Maverick and Mahavir in the Ferraris. And if Mahavir can have a clean weekend in any of these last couple of races, then Ferrari will definitely be looking good for P2 in the championship. Alfa Romeo falling away just a little bit now with Elon Tusk and Connor Sheridan. Seems unlikely that they're going to finish any higher than fourth, and might have to keep an eye on their backside for the Alpha Tauris coming up fast, as well as the Red Bulls. So that's the Alpha Tauris in P5, Owen AK and Aries. Owen's been having some very solid results of late. And then P6, the Red Bulls. Ruben definitely on the bottom step of the podium or thereabouts always. So definitely has a lot of pace and likely to accrue some major points for Red Bull coming towards the end of this season. Then a gap down to Renault, who only have Turex representing them for the time being. And then the McLarens of A2 UK and Sudek. If A2 UK could be a bit more consistent, those McLarens would definitely be further up as well. The Mercedes have 0 drivers and yet 120 points. And somehow Haas with 2 drivers are on 70, 50 behind a Mercedes who have 0 drivers. So that's quite the feat.
Yeah. And all of those 70 points for Haas are coming from Outlaw, because Seb, again, we mentioned it before, a driver that's been showing a lot of pace, but just unable to convert it, whether it is disconnects coming through, whether it is just lap 1 incidents followed by a retirement. There's so much stuff. But Ferrari and Red Bull are the 2 teams that we are looking at to really climb up the standings, because Maverick and Mahavir, well, if you take Williams out of the equation, they're probably the 2 quickest drivers in the league. And then you go over to Red Bull. Ruben will be up there as one of the quickest alongside Maverick and Mahavir. And Lowenker is no slouch either. So really watch out for Ferrari and Red Bull tonight to make some inroads. And even if we go back to last week, if it wasn't for those incidents Maverick had going into the chicane at the end of the Kemmel Straight, if it wasn't for 2 spins, arguably right now Ferrari could be ahead of Racing Point. Either way, that is going to be a titanic battle for second.
Indeed it is. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that plays out towards the end of the season, as the top of both of our championships have, of course, been thoroughly decided, but you can still battle for the places slightly further down, and that can just be as interesting, depending on, I mean, sometimes even more so when you get several drivers fighting over 1 or 2 positions. It can be very, very interesting to see. So I think we might be running a little bit behind schedule today, because I think we've got some issues with Steam logins. So I think we might be starting the race just a little bit late. So bear with us while we try and work out what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, and if you mentioned about loads of drivers battling for 1 spot. If we do look back at the Drivers' Championship standings, as one of our viewers in the chat has mentioned, P6 is a cutoff for the FXR Showdown. And right now, that's going to one of the Racing Points, unless A2 UK and Ruben can really start finding their feet. They need to find about another 30 points, which with the different point system that we have here in FXR, we're talking about 46 points for a win. And then I think it drops down to 38. Or is it 40?
I think it's 36 and then 32.
Oh, yes. 46, 36, 30. Thank you very much for that, Jacob. So a lot of points are available, especially if you 2 win. That's an extra 10 points at the bare minimum. So Ruben and Lowenkert, Ruben and A2 can really climb up the order to get into that FXR Showdown event. They've got 2 races to do that. 15 points a race is 100% doable for them.
Absolutely. And this is why I was mentioning the battle between Kenners and Chegwin in particular, because it is over that final position in the showdown. And both of them will definitely be wanting that and be very keen on, for Kenners keeping Chegwin away from it, and for Chegwin stealing it from the grasp of his teammate.
But what they want to make sure they don't do is take each other out and give A2 or Ruben a free pass to the event. And speaking of drivers, though, that did make a bit of a name for themselves last time out, two new drivers, Luppy and Wheeze, were exceptionally impressive. And we got to speak, or I got to speak to one of them during the week and have a quick chat with them on how they think their first ever race in FXR went. In FXR reserve driver Luppy, who got his debut race in last time out at the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps. And Luppy, a good result for you. You finished first on track, second place after penalties, but I'm guessing you're still really happy with that result.
Yeah, I really can't complain, other than I kind of screwed up my own race with getting those penalties. But still, yeah, for the first race, it's it's a good result, I think.
And I guess we'll go straight into it. High chance that you're going to be racing next time out at in Brazil for Sao Paulo. Do you think you can go one better? Do you think you can take the win?
Well, actually, I don't think I will be joining this the next race. So no, yeah.
If you were, though, if you were.
Yeah, well, Brazil is not my most competitive track. I have to be honest. Especially when I saw that lap time by Iceman, I don't think I'm able to match those lap times. But because I before the Spa race, I obviously I didn't know the other drivers, but I looked up Iceman and Sippels, and well, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with those with the lap times they achieve on most of the tracks.
Yeah, they do get in some very quick hot laps. Between you and me, though, they're a bit quicker in qualifying than they are in the race. They're time trial sweaters.
Okay, yeah, well, no.
I mean, you saw Iceman and Sippels' pace firsthand anyway during the race at Spa. Super close. It was in the wet though, which always adds a little bit extra to the mix. Do you prefer the wet or the dry yourself, Luffy?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you say, like the I prefer dry, of course, because it's just it makes it a bit easier. But on the other hand, wet conditions always add some different factors which can make other drivers give other drivers a bit more chance. So I think from that perspective, I do like the wet conditions, because you can maybe achieve a little bit more than usual, if you know what I mean.
And you mentioned how Spa was practically a home track for you, but you, of course, you're Dutch, so next year, when you are with us full-time, you will get a proper home race in the form of Zandvoort. But I know with a lot of Dutch drivers, Belgium sometimes is actually a bit closer to them than or I should say Spa is a bit closer to them than Zandvoort.
Yeah, well, but not for me though. Zandvoort is really close, actually, for me. So it's practically only a few kilometers away from my home. So yeah, Zandvoort is definitely. I could definitely consider it as my home track.
Well, maybe next interview we'll get you to do a jog from your house to the Zandvoort track. I think you can give us a tour of the circuit as well. I think for next year we're definitely going to have to get you to do our hot lap video. However, Luppy, thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see you, well, if not at the Brazil Grand Prix, at our season finale at Abu Dhabi. Thank you very much for your time. Next season, though, when you are fully with us, what is your expectations? How high up the championship do you think you can get?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because, I think the race at Spa is not a real good reference. It's just only one race, and obviously my end result was pretty good, especially on track. But yeah, as from what I understood, Iceman was more or less, he was just very focused on getting that championship reeled in. So the race win wasn't really his biggest concern. So yeah, I think it's hard to judge what my what my pace is compared to the other drivers. So I do think there's a fair chance for some wins and some podiums, but yeah, I think time will have to tell to see what my pace is compared to the other drivers.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Luppy, and well, we wish you the best of luck in FXR Season 2.
Thank you.
Well, it was absolutely fantastic to have a quick chat with Luppy. It's a shame we won't be seeing him tonight. Hopefully, we can see him at Abu Dhabi and get to see some more Luppy versus Iceman battles. However, we're going to have to satisfy ourselves with Iceman versus Sipos, Maverick, and the rest of the Premier X field. Jacob, let's take a final look then at the circuit at hand before we throw on over to our hot lap that's been provided by a very generous driver.
Yeah, I mean, so circuit, as you can see, I mean, it's just a nice circuit, right? I mean, the center S is at the beginning, a pretty classic S section, but the way they descend down the hill is really quite satisfying, at least to watch, can make it a little bit tougher to drive than necessary. But there's quite a lot of elevation change throughout the lap, which is always nice. And the road gets pretty narrow in certain parts of the track as well, which definitely gives it a different flavor to the majority of circuits. I mean, it definitely, you can tell it's an old style circuit when you're driving on it. You can tell it's not a sort of Herman Tilke circuit. And, whether you think that's a good thing or not, it definitely gives the place character.
Yeah. And, you've got two completely different sections of the circuit as well. You've got the higher speeds of Sector 1 and Sector 3, where you probably want to be running much lower downforce to be able to maximize your straight line benefit. And then you've got Sector 2 where it starts to really slow down. We look at Turn 8, Turn 10, get super slow there. You want the downforce. You want to be able to keep the car steady, stick to the ground. And we are likely going to be seeing drivers with different setups where they'll fall behind in one sector and then make it difficult to overtake in another. But a super long run coming out of Turn 12, Junção, all the way down the straight into Turn 1, going to be the biggest overtaking opportunity and where we're likely going to be seeing the most overtakes in tonight's race.
Certainly. And one thing the drivers are going to have to be watching out for as well is the fact that there's so many places where you can really spin very easily around here. There's a lot of easy places to make mistakes. Turn 2 is a big one. Turn 9, Pinheirinho is probably the most significant one of those. The exit of Pinheirinho is incredibly difficult, but Turn 5, the exit of Descuido del Lago as well, can be pretty nasty, particularly if you get all over those curbs. Turn 10, the exit of that, again, that's very low speed. We're having to accelerate out quickly, and that can be really tough, especially with the camber change on the circuit as you are leaving, that is Bico de Pato, turn 10. And then finally, of course, the exit of Junção, which is again, another very low speed corner where you're just going to be gunning it up the hill all the way up towards turn 1. So you're always keen to get the traction as best you can. And you're always going to be that little bit more greedy because you know that if you can get a slight advantage under traction there, it's going to stay with you for the whole duration of from turn 12 to turn 1. And you can see just how long that is on the map.
So what you're saying, Jacob, is you can spin in every corner.
Pretty much, yeah, honestly. Like it's a really difficult circuit. And if you haven't got a setup that you feel 100% comfortable with, it's so tough.
And I'm not sure if any of our viewers saw what our producer did there. No, okay. So the reason why I was laughing was when Jacob started talking about corners that you can spin at, our producer Reed just got his mouse and frantically circled it around turn 9, and we were like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But a lot of corners that you can, a lot of corners that you can spin at. And Jacob, last time out at Spa, only two drivers didn't get time penalties. Here at Brazil, it's even trickier to keep it inside the white lines and not receive a track extension warning. And if you were to count the number of corners at this circuit where it is likely for you to get a track extension warning, I'm counting 13, 14. And that's including turns 13, 14, and 15, which is flat out.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So if you're struggling through turns 13, 14, and 15, maybe Premier X wouldn't be the division for you. But yeah, no, there are definitely
to be fair though, turn 15, you can like take too much and kind of go through the pit and then like push. Okay, look, you guys talked about how Maggots was an easy corner to get a track invalidation.
And how many people did we see invalidating through Maggots?
Well, it was just Maverick, wasn't it? But...
Well, it was mainly Maverick, but we did see drivers invalidating through there, which is the point.
So we just need to get Maverick to come on and give us a corner that is really easy and that you wouldn't get a track penalty at, and then that would be perfect. However, we're going to quickly throw to our hot lap video, and then we're going to be back for qualifying and the race uninterrupted to the very end for the penultimate round of the Premier X Championship. With our newly crowned Premier X champion, Iceman, down towards turn 1 after the 50-meter board. Brake, drop it right down, a little bit of an under rotation on the front left. Now use up all of the curve as you can through the center end. So easy to get an invalidation. Iceman holds it nice and tight through turn 3. Minimize that distance towards turn 4 as you enter the Descida do Lago. You can brake solely, carrying so much speed. And again, super easy to get an invalidation here at Brazil, but Iceman uses as much track as possible without invalidating his lap time through Ferradura, turn 6 and 7, and now down into 8. All about being super patient through this section into the Pinheirino. And again, short shift, easy on the throttle on the exit, use up the track, and into the Pico do Pato, drop it right down, and once again, you can hear Iceman using the short shifting to his advantage. Hold it nice and tight through the left-hander, down into João. Stay off the curve on the apex. On the exit, you can use the curve just that little bit. And now it's all the way through the flat-out corners of 14 and 15. Shortest line to the start-finish line, and that is a lap here at Brazil. Here we go then, for qualifying at the circuit, Sao Paulo. I feel like it has another name, namely from iRacing. They call it something completely different and it always throws me off. Interlagos was the word I was thinking of, but there's another word they use for Interlagos. I can't remember what it is.
Is it like in PES when you have the teams which are like Merseyside Red and Merseyside Blue and stuff like that?
Oh, they call it Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. Yeah. And I don't think that it's like a pest name. I think it is like another.
No, that is his name. You're right. I forgot it was called the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. But named for Jose Carlos Pace, who was a F1 driver in the 1970s, and as so many of them did in that era, lost his life racing. I don't think he was actually racing in F1 when he died, but he did die as a result of a racing accident. So yeah, one of Brazil's finest drivers of that era, apart from, of course, the likes of Emerson Fittipaldi, who's really the standout, as Sipos getting disqualified.
Jacob! I'm sorry, I don't care about who's got disqualified. Did you just talk about Brazilian drivers and say, and of course, Emerson Fittipaldi, and just completely ignore Ayrton Senna?
Well, I'm talking about the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
Didn't hop in a car until 1983, 4?
Yeah, it was 83 or 4. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not ignoring him. And also Nelson Piquet, technically at the end of the 70s, was also there, but more in the 80s as well. So.
Everyone's cutting corners as well right now, just to get into that.
So,
okay.
I'm not sure.
I should mention, I think you're about to bring this up, so sorry if I'm stealing this from you, Jacob. But it's not Sipos who is driving, it's Sipos' brother, Patrick, who is driving tonight here in Interlagos.
Oh, is that confirmed?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure that's why it's Sipos Patrick.
Yeah, well, because I know that so Sipos Bentz is the Sipos who usually takes part in Premier X, and Sipos Patrick is his brother. They share the same account, I believe. It has been renamed to Sipos Patrick for this race, which does suggest that it is Patrick and not Bentz who is participating in this race. However, a rather poor start to Premier X Life for Patrick, if that is him, with an immediate disqualification from qualifying for blocking the pit lane. So that's a fun one for the Williams driver. And yeah, in Q1, interestingly, it seems like we've got 0 drivers capable of finishing P1. Same for 6th and 7th. There don't seem to be any drivers there either. So, oh, there you go. Outlaw finds his way to P1. This is an interesting timing board.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Counting with the Premier A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 11. Oh, 6 has gone, it's 5 now. Who knows how to count in this ever-changing world of numbers? Isn't it great? It's the Schrodinger's counting list right now.
Indeed. Matt Javier, by the way, is currently on the top of the order with a 107.612. Of course, this qualifying session being Q1 with, I think, it's hard to tell because the numbers aren't right, but I think we've got 12 drivers here today. So no one is going to go out in Q1, and that means everyone doesn't really have to say. Well, having said that, I think Sipos Patrick might be out in Q1 given the disqualification. I'm not sure whether it will let him participate in Q2.
I think disqualification is fine. The only way you don't progress is if you crash and like lose a wheel or something like that.
Okay, well, let's hope so for Patrick in, well, I was about to say in P7, but not really in P7 at all. So, yeah, only a few guys out on track for the time being. No real need to settle lap times. It looks like one of the Ferraris, I say one of the Ferraris, Mahavir, the only Ferrari here in this one, as Maverick is for some reason driving a Mercedes. Mahavir, sorry, spun in the final corner and is now heading back into the pits.
Maverick's trying to find a way to increase his pace so he can finally get another win this season. He's like, I shall unleash the Mercedes power upon everyone. Can our admins confirm, does this mean we're allowed to give Maverick, you know, like a 5-second time penalty at the end of the race for selecting the wrong car?
Maybe he's just trying to help the Mercedes out. We saw they had 0 drivers,
yeah.
So, you know, makes sense that he's just trying to throw them a bone there. Although with Ferrari as close as they are to P2 in the championship, or, you know, might want to be representing the boys in red. Owen is going to come across the line now in the Alpha Tauri with a P3 time, a 1:08.213, and A2 UK has actually blitzed Mahavir's time by almost 0.4 of a second, a 1:07.288, putting A2 UK up at the very top of the order for the time being.
And as our producer Reed and a few of the other members of the FXR community will know, we got dragged in to some FXR free practice yesterday at Brazil. And, well, we won't talk about the results of it, but what we do know is that the qualifying pace is probably going to be a 1:06.9 for pole, something like that. Maverick was able to get onto a 1:06, I think it was 9.98 or something like that. So, knowing Iceman and Patrick, they will probably be getting into the 1:06.7s or something disgusting like that, because they're disgustingly quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I guess that might be one test to see whether this is Patrick or not, because if he absolutely blitzes Iceman, I'm going to say it's Patrick. And if he doesn't, I'm going to say it's Ben. So that's just throwing that one out there, because Patrick is a very, very, very fast driver indeed. I mean, they all are, really, to be honest. So,
what if they both have blitzed the rest of the field? I'm going to say it's not Iceman Racing, but Iceman's brother, who's also very, very quick as well.
Is that true, or is that a joke? I honestly don't know.
It is true. I believe Iceman's brother's quicker than him. It's the exact same situation as the Sipos brothers, where they both share the same rig and account, so they race in different leagues and obviously on different days, so that they can both race. And I'm pretty sure Bent and Iceman are the slower of the two brothers, but I may be wrong, so please don't kill me, Iceman and Bent, if that is the case.
I see that Iceman is in chat, so Iceman, if you want to have any response to that one, feel free to let us know just how wrong Yousuf is, as Ruben is actually out there putting in lap after lap in the Red Bull, definitely treating this as more of a practice session, same for Outlaw. I think that's the smart way to go about it. You don't want to be using multiple sets of tyres in this qualifying session, because of course it doesn't matter, as KevGL actually joined, so I wonder if he's going to be joining us. Whether he'll be able to join us into Q2 or not, I don't know. He might be joining us for the race just to make up a few numbers, as we are looking a little bit sparse in terms of the grid for today. Just a fair few drivers who couldn't make it for this reason or that. But yeah, Ruben up in P3. He's been slowly increasing or decreasing his time, I should say, on those soft tires. And that suggests to me, along with the fact that he's been out there for several laps already, that he's got a bit of a tank of fuel on board.
Yeah, and we have seen drivers put on a lot of fuel and then just essentially do a race run. We saw mainly Mahavir Raghunathan do that all the way back at Canada, where he did about 8 laps on one set of tires across Q1 and Q2. As I've just seen in the Discord, Maverick has said that it put him in the Mercedes, which, I mean, I don't see how that happens. That just means he selected the wrong car, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a bug, and maybe that's a bug that some of the drivers in real life F1 might be wishing could happen to them in real life somehow. But yeah, not the world's worst bug ever, to be honest.
George Russell has been waiting for that bug for the last 2 years right now. Give me the Mercedes. Yeah, also, there's one issue, Jacob, when we kind of heckle Maverick. The issue is he can just join the call whenever and essentially absolve himself of all of the different crimes that we put upon his name.
He can try. I mean,
he can try.
He's not necessarily just going to absolve himself right there and then. We'll have to wait and see. Depends on the nature of the crime. I mean, the first move into Les Combes last time out in Belgium, I'm going to say that move was a bit sus.
He did accept responsibility for that.
Okay,
Not for the second one.
Enough.
Not for the second one, though.
Yeah, no, the second one was a bit more up in the air, but the first one, yeah. But yeah, no, so obviously we don't have a whole lot to talk about right now because the drivers are just pounding around doing some practice laps in this qualifying session. So forgive us for straying off topic just a little bit. Ruben's still going around. Same for Outlaw. Outlaw, as soon as I say that, heads into the pits. Lernkurt is actually on an outlapper, so both Red Bulls are out there along with Iceman, but that is they are the only cars out there for the time being. Kenners did manage to DNF in the pit, so he's retired rather than DNFing, so that should mean that he is going to be able to participate in Q2. And Kev GL has arrived on the order as well. He'll be standing in one of the Alpha Tauris.
Yeah, and something else to add in. Hang on, let me just get my promotional voice up. But did you guys know that Formula X is now partnered by Rogue Energy? Yes, you can get energy drinks discounted at a fantastic rate of 10% with the code FXR101. Head on over to Rogue Energy for more. I don't know. How do you rate my promotional voice?
Well, I'm just going to say that maybe if you do it once or twice more, they might revoke the sponsorship. So it might be best to stay away from that one for a while. But yeah, okay. I mean,
noted.
It was an interesting one. I respect the effort. But yes, what my peculiarly posh friend said was true. You can, of course, do that. And we are happy to be partnered with Rogue Energy here at Formula X.
We are indeed. So, how are the standings looking? Still AT UK topping things, followed by Mahavir, Raghunathan, and Ruben. But of course, still Q1, and nothing really counts at the present point in time. And it's just going to be a case of practicing for absolutely everyone. And don't forget, if you guys do want to get involved, you can, of course, through the YouTube chat primarily, but you can also do it on Twitter using the hashtag FXR. And you can let us know, how you're watching, who you think is going to win, whatever, even in the middle of the week. And, we can come and say hi to you.
Yet another way to get involved as well is to actually sign up for Season 2 of the Formula X League, whether it be Premier X, Division 1 or Division 2. We'd be very glad to have you, so you can head over to the website, formulaxracing.com, and then go to the Sign Up tab on the top right of your screen, and you'll be able to follow the instructions there. You need to do a couple of time trials and maybe participate in an evaluation race or two, just so the admins know in which division to place you. But we would love to have you, and we are looking to slightly expand the roster of drivers going into the second season after a very successful first season here in Formula X Racing.
Yeah, very successful indeed, and we've got more stuff coming your way for our season finale. A very juicy video is going to be coming up in our pre-race show next week, as well as in the middle of the week. So do make sure you guys stay up to date for that. It is going to be spicy. That's all I'm going to say.
All right,
Spicy.
well, that's a fascinating thing to say and
Gonna
very
say no more.
tantalizing. Yep, it's very. I'm gutted, honestly. As Ruben is still
You should be.
improving lap after lap in the Red Bull, the South African driver who is now reporting that fact in his Steam tag. 9 laps into this stint, just improved by 1/10 and a half. However, is 2/10 down on the first sector on this one, so he might just about finally be feeling the effects of the tire wear more than he's feeling the effects of the emptying fuel tank.
Yeah, 9 lap all soft tires. Ruben's just been going around lap after lap. So this is the kind of pace that we're expecting from Ruben in the race. Of course, we don't know if he's put in, 10 laps worth of fuel for his race run, or if he's put in, the full kind of 30 laps worth of fuels for a more appropriate, a more accurate race pace visual, let's say.
Yeah, really nice Dutch angle we just got there through Mergulo as well. As Ruben is now going to complete the 10th lap here. Maybe he's got one of those sponsors in my team that asks you to do like 100 laps per week. Oh, never mind. He's coming to the pits. Let's see. We'll break just before the entry point, and I'm not sure that he would have actually got that slowed down if that was in a race situation, so we might want to work on that just to give himself a little bit more margin for error braking for the pit entry line.
Yeah. But Ruben, yeah, maybe you'll have to work on that pit entry a bit. Who knows, maybe he does have to do 100 laps during a race weekend. It'll be a little bit hard to pull off with just 3 qualifying sessions and a race, but, the faster you go, the more laps you can do.
Yeah, sure. I would completely agree with that. Maverick now coming up.
I hate those things on my team. They're really annoying.
Yeah. What you mean, the sponsor objectives?
Yeah. To be honest, I just hate the free practice object. I hate the fact that my team makes me go out and actually work for resource points, and like makes me go through those stupid little gates, and then it wants me to do that fuel management thing, which is like impossible to do. You've got to lift off for like halfway down the straight to be able to get it. It's annoying, really annoying.
Right. Well, fair enough. There's Milky's thoughts on the practice sessions. Not even just my team. That's just a career mode thing. I mean, I think there's better ways to get resource points than that. I mean, but to be honest, if you do all of the practice sessions, you get so many resource points, and I think it's kind of overpowered anyway. So it's an interesting challenge to set to not do any of the practice sessions purposefully, and to just limit your resource point generation that way. And it makes it a little bit more of an interesting march up the field in my experience, as Maverick has currently only managed a 1:14.7, so he might have put rather more fuel in his car than all the other drivers, as that's well off the front running pace by about 7 seconds at the moment. Up towards the line he comes now, and that's a bit more like it. A 1:07.257. So evidently he just made a mistake on the previous lap.
Maverick fully using that Mercedes buff right there, getting Mercedes where they belong, which is at the top. However, Jacob, speaking of resource points, I've got an interesting story for you. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, go on then.
Okay. I could tell that you wanted to say no, but you just said yes. Fine. So I'm going to make it extra long for you now. So I've been doing some miking, I've been doing some career mode, I've been doing it for a few years. And what I've noticed is I'm really good at like taking a team that's like really bad and then making them really good, right? I don't know how I do it. It's like, it's superhuman, the fact that I just do practice and then all of a sudden they become good after like I invest money into parts and stuff like that. So what I've done is I've recently acquired Williams Formula 1. As you heard, there was recently a takeover in Formula 1. So
you are Dorliton Capital or whatever they're called?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yes.
I see. It's a pseudonym all along. First name Dorliton, last name Capital.
Yes. Have you never heard of the Yousuf Dorliton Capital bin-Suhayl before? So yeah, what I'm going to be doing now is we here at Dorliton Capital, we don't care about races. All we're going to do is we're just going to be focusing on practice. I'm just going to be making George and Nicholas, they're just going to do loads of practice sessions and they're going to get loads of resource points. And I'm going to tell all of our sponsors that our car's worse than it actually is so that they don't think that we have to get as good times. And that way we'll get loads of resource points and then we can make our car better.
I see. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, best of luck to you on that particular venture.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you.
Oh, Elon Tusk's here. Welcome, Elon Tusk. The grid's starting to thicken up just a little bit.
Lance
Couple of
Stroll is
late
joined as
comers
well.
To this one. Yeah, I know. Not just Elon Tusk. Kimi Raikkonen, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, and Antonio Giovinazzi all here joining us as well. We are truly blessed today. As Loenkert, having done an outlap right as the session was coming to an end, now heads back into the pits, and the session does finally come to an end. So thank you for that one, Loenkert, as we are now going to be heading towards Q2 and the first session that will actually make a difference. And just look at the bottom of that order. It's, hold on, did Truex crash? Truex must have crashed because it's put Truex out.
No,
it's eliminated.
Truex.
I didn't notice, but
You
Truex
had
has
one job,
crashed in the order.
Truex.
Oh dear,
That
that's
is a
quite
rip.
sad. Yeah,
That's a big rip.
that's
Our
unfortunate.
only German on the grid, and that's not German driving right there, Truex. That's a shame. However, on the plus side, it means you're going to have lots more free tires available for the race. So use them well. Use them well, Truex.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's not often you get to pull off the four-stop strategy, but I'm sure Truex will be able to make it work masterfully here. In fact, on F1 2016, in a 50% race, you used to have to three-stop around here. So, yeah, that's maybe that's what we're going to see on this one as well. So we are now into Q2, and you can see there is the 10 drivers. None of them Elon Tusk. Truex also not here as well. So I don't know if we can get Elon Tusk into this session or not, but I would personally like to see him, even though he couldn't actually participate in Q1. But either way, Kev GL has joined us, so that's nice.
Yeah, Kev has joined us, and he'll be hoping to improve a little bit after his debut race, where he did really struggle for pace. Just be hoping for a little bit more here in Q2. Okay, Jacob, prediction. How many people in Q2 do you think are going to set their best lap on a medium set of tires?
Hold on. I'm gonna say three. Three of them are going to.
I'm
not going to tell you
absolutely
which three.
hate you, Jacob. Like,
Why?
because
you gonna
every
say
time I ask you a question, you take my answer. Just every time.
Maybe you should stop asking me questions then, and then just state it yourself and then ask me. Then
Okay, yeah.
then you'll get the
Maybe I'll
advantage,
do
the
that,
mental
yeah.
advantage.
See, the thing is, the last time I did that, there's this other caster that we know called Sarge, and he used that to essentially beat me because, yeah, he was going to say the same thing as me, and because he chose something different, he lucked out and beat me. But okay, I'm going to say 4, and hopefully I get the Sarge buff.
Okay. Oh, best of luck on that one. I think an Outlaw is currently out on a set of those yellow-walled medium tyres here in the Haas. And is the British driver going to be one of them? What do you reckon?
No.
All right. Well,
I'm going to go with the 2 Williams.
Okay.
I don't think Mahavir knows what medium tires is because he really loves doing
I
loads
think
and
you're
loads
right,
of runs
yeah.
and softs. So
yeah, I think that's true.
I will then say Ruben. Oh, damn, I said 4, didn't I?
Yep.
Darn it.
No faith in Maverick?
I guess Maverick. Maverick got 82, I don't know which one.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know which tyres they're out at the moment. Might be nice if we
Actually, I'm going to go for the forehead play here. I'm going to say Kev. No, I'm going to say Outlaw. I think he's going to do this lap on medium tyres. He's not going to do any more laps in soft. So even if he doesn't get into the top 10, his fast lap will still be on medium tyres.
Okay, well, yeah, you could rely on maybe invalidations. I don't know whether Outlaw will be able to invalidate.
It's time to get out my voodoo doll and just like push this mini car like off the track limits at every corner.
Now let's take a look on board here with Sipos Patrick, probably rather than Sipos Pence's. My stream is actually frozen a little bit here, so why don't you take this one away?
Yeah, here comes Sepos through the double right-hander of 6 and 7. Slow it right down into turn 8 as you make your way into the Pinerino because you pin your way back out of it without trying to lose your back end. Down towards it, turn 10. Pico de Pato, slow on the throttle. Nice and easy does it. You don't need to pull the car over to the right as you make your way through the left-hander of Mergullo. Use up all of the track you can get right up onto that AstroTurf and use up all of the track on ace. A bit of a moment with the rear end for Patrick. But overall, it's been fairly clean The lap to beat is a 107.6. Sipos, what will he be able to do? It's looking not too good because that's a 107.78.
Yeah, it is, of course, on those medium tyres, but slower than Kenner's for the time being, comfortably ahead of Outlaw, as Kev manages to pick up a 5-place grid penalty with a collision with Outlaw. Outlaw managing to avoid the same punishment, I think, so that's a stroke of luck for the Haas driver, as Iceman narrowly edges out Sipos in the first of the battles between the Williams, which is actually going to make a difference, and Iceman reckons that's enough, and immediately retires from the session.
Okay, so things are looking good. I've got two of my boys that I predicted have gone for the medium tyres. I just need 2 more. Outlaw, don't you dare do another lap.
Well,
A 1:10.7 is fine. It's fine at 1:10.7.
Yeah, it's a great lap time. He should probably get through on that, I reckon. It'll be touch and go at the end. A2 UK pops up into P4 with a time that looks suspiciously like it was set on medium tyres. Mahavir with a 1:07.888 as well. A lot of drivers in a very small amount of space in terms of time on the timing sheets there. The top 5 all within just over 0.2 of a second, and then a 2-second gap down to Sudek in P6.
And if we could take a look at that tyre details, let's see how many people have actually put on those mediums. So Mahavir, as we expected, has gone for the softs as Owen takes the scenic way through the Senna S, I think, there. I'm not sure. Was he on the track? I thought he went off. I'm not sure. Who knows? It's
He had just finished a flying lap, so he might have just decided that that was it, and he just went off track, maybe to let someone through or something like that. Mahavir still out here, I think still pushing actually on this set of soft tyres. So he's already set one fast lap on already. Sudek behind doing a similar thing and going about a second faster than he had been able to. Mahavir actually a 1/4 of a second up on his previous best time. If he continues this and if he comes across the line, given how nice it looked out of Junkao as well, he should actually be looking at taking provisional top spot away from Kenners across the line, and he does so with a 1:07.514. So a nice lap from the Indian in the Ferrari.
Yeah, good stuff from Mahavir. He takes provisional pole. Kenners, we were talking about how close a battle between Kenners and Chegwin will be in the championship. And actually, speaking of Chegwin hasn't showed up today.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's not good for
good
Chegwin.
news for him. Yeah.
However, Ruben and Maverick are going to be 2 others we have to watch out for. Ruben especially, because he's hunting down Kenners in the championship, and there we're seeing the narrow track getting in the way of Kev GL slightly. He's on the medium tyres, pushing his way through Ferradura and now down into the very slow turn 8.
Now through Pinheirinho. Always a fun one to say, in towards the Bico de Pato now, the Duck's Bill. And yeah, not looking terribly fast. It's all quite well under control for the AlphaTauri driver, but I'm not sure this is 100% a push lap. He might just be heading back into the pits, having already set a 1:09.868. We'll see where he goes as he comes towards the pit entry. Now, will it be into the pits or will it be around to finish the lap? It is around to finish the lap. So this might... No, I don't think he's going... Oh, he does improve just a tiny bit. So a 1:09.682 now on that set of medium tyres, which have now done 2 flying laps. Lernkert yet to set a time along with Maverick. Both of them out there on the medium tyres for the time being as well. So a lot of these drivers using the mediums early in the session, and that's one thing about a short track like Interlagos, is that you can get more, you have more chances to put a lap in any given qualifying session than you would if the track took longer to get around. So you can afford to just run on those medium tyres at the beginning, and then you'll have plenty of time to set a soft tyre lap towards the end of the session if you'd like.
Yeah, I've always been a fan as well of using your scrub set of softs from Q1 just to set a provisional time, just a banker time before going out on mediums, just to get a feel for the track once again. Do a lap on the mediums, and then you can do another one on softs if you're not feeling too confident or comfortable. Now, Maverick, what can he pull out? He is on the mediums. Outlaw's on a set of soft tyres, and we're going to hope that he doesn't improve. He hasn't improved. That's good to hear, because he did come up on the chat and say, it's not happening, mate, which is in reference to him not coming out on soft tyres. So he's gone out on softs, but thankfully he hasn't improved. So my prediction of Outlaw doing a lap, he's best on mediums.
I mean, he's sitting in the pits at the moment. I'm not sure he's actually tried to set a lap on that set.
He went out for a bit, I'm pretty sure. He said he was on an out lap.
Okay, well, maybe
wow.
he invalidated or something. I don't really know. As it looks like one of the Alpha Tauris has had a struggle through Juncal, but I think they've got going again, no problem. So Maverick out here with a 1:19.369 at the moment. Those last 3 digits are pretty satisfactory as he now heads down towards turn 4, the end of the second DRS zone of the circuit. And out of turn 5, all looking quite good, climbing up the hill towards Ferradura. Got to be really, really committed through here. It tightens on the exit into turn 8, which, as far as I can tell, doesn't have a name. Through Pinheirino as well, riding on the inside curve quite heavily. That sometimes unsettles the car on the exit, and Maverick did have to correct for oversteer through there. Now through Mergulo we go. Easy flat, of course, into Juncal, and he's purple in Sector 2, in fact, and already 11.5 seconds up on his previous best time, as you might expect when that's a 1:19.3. And up towards the line he comes now. No more skill left to go. No more difference the driver can make. He can just hold the throttle and wait. What's it going to be? It's a 1:07.792, and that's a pretty good lap.
We're talking about 800 separating Iceman all the way down to A2 UK. 4 drivers by that short of a margin, and they're all on medium tires. That is incredibly close.
Hold on, that's not good. Right.
I have a feeling A2 UK will not be racing in this league anymore.
Well, that's Sudek that just did that.
Oh,
so
was
I
it
wouldn't
Sudek?
say anything
Okay,
about A2 UK quite yet. But yeah, Sudek in
I was thinking it was
McLaren.
A2 because there's been a bit of bad blood between A2 and Sudek. Between A2 and Maverick, and I was thinking if that was A2, that was the last straw. But Sudek, well, maybe that would be a warning. That is out of order.
I mean, it didn't look good, right? I mean, it might have been a mistake. It might have been Sudek just trying to reclaim the racing line and thinking that Maverick had backed off more than he had. That's perhaps the generous view to take on that one, but it definitely won't have felt very good in the cockpit for Maverick. Thankfully, no wheels falling off of his wagon, so he will still be able to participate. He'll have to change his front wing, but that won't be too much of an issue. So he should get through to Q3 no problem with the time he currently has anyway, so it won't actually affect the stand-in Mercedes, usually Ferrari driver, too badly. But yeah, Sudek, I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know. I didn't quite see whether he was being blocked through the center S's by Maverick or not at the beginning of his lap, but that might explain why he decided to do that, if indeed it was a decision and not just a sort of honest accident.
Yeah, and even if it was, it doesn't, retaliation is not excusable.
Oh yeah, of course. That wouldn't be an excuse. It would simply be an explanation.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what the officials deem on that. Maybe it was the glitch as well, and he had cleared Maverick power on his screen or something like that, but who knows? Either way, Maverick won't be happy with that. It'll add a little bit of tyre wear to his mediums that had already done second lap, because Maverick taking, I want to say the 2019 approach, which used to be when you qualify on the hard tyres, you do an extra outlap just to build a bit more heat in the tyres and warm them up a bit more before going through your full push lap.
But yeah, so it's all looking quite good for A2 UK, Maverick, Sipos, and Iceman at the moment with their medium lap time. So you might be seeing your 4 medium tyre runners. I don't think A2 UK will be too worried about the cars behind because, with the pace differential to the likes of Lernkert and Owen, who have only set times on medium tyres thus far, you might think that you're probably going to be safe to those guys even, and then you've got, the likes of KevGL Outlaw as well, who's on a 109.179 on his softs. It's pushing.
And here we go. Outlaw's gone almost 4/10 quicker after Sector 2. He's on the soft tyres. He's trying to prove me wrong, and he's saying, I will set my quickest time on the soft tyres. We said it's possible to invalidate through the final corner, but well, Outlaw says, nah, not for me. He improves. He does a 108.8, and he's just a few hundredths shy of Owen. Is he going to have enough time to get back to the pits and do another lap? I don't think so. So, is that the end for Outlaw?
I think that might be the end for Outlaw in the Haas. Yeah, as you said, I don't think he's got enough time to get round and go into the pits. He's not going fast on this lap at all. Kenner's has invalidated, but he's on his outlap, so that's no big issue for the Racing Point driver. Currently sitting up in P3, and Lernkert actually popped up into P2. Huge improvement for him. That's about 1.2 seconds between his medium tyre run and now his soft tyre run. So Lernkert showing some genuine pace around here all of a sudden in what is now the lead Red Bull. Ruben sitting down in P8, not quite on the bubble and probably going to be safe but, you know, you never know. So it's going to be feeling a little bit nervy for Ruben, Sudek, and Owen at the very fringes of the top 10.
Well, there are 4 drivers that can jump ahead of him, and 3 if you discount Outlaw. But either way, great stuff from Lowenka, jumping ahead of Kenneth and not too far of Mahavir, and we know how quick Mahavir has been over the course of this season, especially in his qualifying runs.
In fact, I don't think Kev has managed to leave the pits in time. In fact, he's not left the pits in time. He's now just leaving the pits.
Don't forget, though, Jacob, there is that glitch which allows you to set a lap after the time hits 0.
So that might be what Kev is relying on here. So we will give it one last go to try and get out there. Ruben will retire from the session, so evidently he feels like he has done enough. Currently sitting in P8. And I would say he'd be disappointed with that, but it's so close between all the drivers that I don't think he will be that disappointed, if I'm honest, as Kenners is now starting his second flying lap of Q2, maybe even his third, I'm not entirely sure about that, but on a fresh set of soft tyres heading through the center S. He's lost a bit of time through there as he ran wide through turn 2, I believe it was. Now heading up towards Desquito de Lago. Running just a little bit too much on the inside curve. That will have unsettled the car, caused him a little bit of pain on traction on the exit, but kept the car nice and steady in the end. Ferradura looked pretty nice there into turn 8. You want to take a lot of the inside curve, and that's exactly what he's done. You want to take less of it through turn 9, but Kenneth does take a fair amount, gets away with it though. In towards Bico de Pato, turn 10. That's pretty smooth and tidy. For Kenners, currently sitting in P3, as he's actually quite a way down on his best time. So I think he really did lose a lot of time in the opening sector, as he was purple through sector 2.
Yeah, he was indeed. So the second one did look a little bit scruffy through turns 1 and 2. Let's see what this will be. It's not going to be enough. He improves again, but that sector 1 really letting him down. What is Owen AK doing? He's making his way through the final corner. And actually, he's dived into the pits. Kev is the last one out, and I don't think he's going to be improving. This lap has been invalidated. Outlaw on a new set of soft tyres. He's on his out lap, so it's just Outlaw and Kev. And can they knock Sudek and Owen from their spots in Q3?
Well, Kev has invalidated his run. I'm not sure if he'll be able to set another run or not. Owen will retire, and now he's the one that's under threat from Outlaw here, who's starting very late in the session and then immediately cuts the corner through turn 2, invalidates the lap, and retires.
Yeah, and Kev has backed off. I guess he's still got some time to set his lap, and there's 1 minute 40 in the session as well, so plenty of time for him to complete the lap. Kenneth has completed his. He's seen the checkered flag. He's not in any danger zone. So it's just Kev. Can he knock Owen out of the top
10? Okay, Kev winding up for a lap now. 1 minute 27 to go on the sort of extra timer. But that seems to be the timer we've been adhering to in the last few races. As Kev comes towards the line, it actually gives him the checkered flag, as it probably should. So he will not get the opportunity to improve on the 109.682 and will start from P12 on the grid.
I was just thinking for a second that it might have still been pushing. It doesn't look like the session's coming to an end, and
I think that's because Sudek and Mahavir in the pits are yet to retire.
Okay.
So that's why the session won't come to an end. Even when you're in the pits, because the game for some reason thinks that you can leave the pits after the timer has elapsed, it still likes you to retire, or you have to wait for that secondary timer to tick all the way from 3 minutes to 0. So we've got 40 seconds left unless Sudek and Mahavir decide that they can find their way to the menus and retire.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be Outlaw and Kev then who are knocked out of Q2. The Haas and the AlphaTauri won't be making it any further. Of course, still have the AlphaTauri of Owen AK, and the second half of Seb is nowhere to be seen. So just the one AlphaTauri in Q3.
Yeah, and I mean, Kev standing in for AlphaTauri regardless. Don't think he'd have been scoring any points for the team. So it is only Owen flying the flag, as Aries is not here today. As you see some rather interesting maneuvers between the AlphaTauri and the Racing Point as they repeatedly bump into each other as the session does come to an end.
Just a friendly little tap. Okay, it is time it is time for our viewers to get involved. It is time for us to get involved as well. Not that we weren't involved already, Jacob, but it's predictions. What is going to be the top 3 at the end of a Q3?
What is going to be the top 3 at the end of Q3? Now, I guess we need to make our predictions as well, right? As well as everyone in chat. So, yeah, everyone, let us know what you think. What am I reckoning? I'm going to say it's going to be Sipos on pole.
Which
Iceman
Sipos?
Well, whichever one is here. Whichever one this is, it's going to be this one, not the other one that's not in the session.
Okay.
So Sipos will be on pole, Iceman P2, and then is it Maverick P3? Is it Mahavir? Is it Kenners, who did look like he had a lot more pace to give, but just messed it up into turn 2 on his final flying lap on in Q2? I'm going to go conservative and say Sipos, Iceman, Maverick as my top 3.
You know, Jacob, I really need to stop asking you for your top 3 before I give mine. Oh, I hate you so much.
Well, we've got some coming in chat as well, so your options are dwindling even further if you don't want to say the same as anyone else. We got Iceman, Sipos, Mahavir. We got Patrick, Iceman, Mahavir. We got Connor P1, said by Connor himself, who is actually just not here at all. So nice to see you're actually watching the race, even if you couldn't be participating, Connor. And yeah, of course, I would predict Connor P1 if you were here. I mean, that's an obvious, right? That's a given that Connor would be P1. I mean, I've got so used to seeing the Alfa Romeo on the front of the grid, it's sort of burned into my vision by now. But yeah, and this one, seeing as Connor isn't here, I'm going to have to give it to Simmons.
I'm going to... Okay, because I don't really have anything else I can say, I'm going to say Patrick P1. I think if I didn't say that, it would be a questionable prediction from me. And I'm going to go with Maverick P2. I know Maverick has been grinding a bit, and I know he's really trying, and I know he really wants to take it to Iceman. I think Brazil is going to be the place he does it. Maverick P2 followed by Iceman. I wonder if A2 will be up there, and Ruben, they both could have showed a bit more pace, I think, in Q2, especially the South African, who I think is holding a lot of cards close to his chest right now.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how much fuel Ruben has been running with in these sessions. It's unlikely he would have had a heavy tank of fuel in Q2. But in Q1, he was definitely hiding his pace a fair bit. And A2 UK looked very strong on the medium tyres, just like Maverick and the two Williams, who just narrowly finished ahead of him, but it was so close between them. As we are now on board with Iceman, who started his first flying lap here in Q3. Actually almost lost the car through Ferradura there, held onto it nicely, but there was a small four-wheel slide through there, avoiding the inside curve through Pinheirinho almost the entire way through, which is not what we saw from the likes of Maverick. A little bit of a lock-up into turn 10, runs just a little bit too wide on the exit. Has to take the curbing on the inside through Mogula. That can sometimes upset the car, but it doesn't seem to have caused much of a problem. Doesn't meet the apex of Junkao either, so I think Iceman will be feeling like he can improve on this one if he were to give it another go. But up towards the line he comes now, just pinned foot down to the floor on that throttle pedal, going all the way to the left to shorten the line. It's a 107.375 from Iceman at the beginning of this session, and Patrick behind invalidated his lap, so that's first blood to Iceman.
Maverick's coming to complete his lap, so is Mahavi as well. We're expecting 106.9s, and that's a 107.2 from Maverick. What can Mahavi Raghunathan do? He's going to come across the line, 107.4. So 2/10 separating the top 3, and I think there's a lot more pace to come. There's Ruben, wow. A 107.19. So we're getting closer and closer to that 106 point.
Yeah, that's you were right. He was holding an awful lot of cards close to his chest. Ruben up to the top of the order with a 107.1. That's pretty close to what you're expecting the ultimate time to be as well. So that's not a shabby lap, to say the least. Owen with a 108.493, a full second off the back of the next lowest car, which is Mahavi Raghunathan's Ferrari in P5. And now Sudek goes lower than Owen with a 108.660.
And Mahavi is still pushing as well. He found 500s in Sector 1. Good lap from Kenners. to put him into P4 provisionally. What can Mahavir pull out in Sector 2? We weren't sitting on board for his whole lap, so we don't know if he lost time in Sector 1, 2, or 3, but he's almost a 10th up at the end of Sector 2, and Sector 3 is just all about your exit from the final corner. Either way, this lap is looking like it's good enough for P3 for the Ferrari driver. Can he piece it all together on the start-finish straight and across the line? What's it going to be? A 107.377, 2,000ths of Iceman's time.
Yeah, so some improvement there for Mahavir, enough to put him up ahead of Kenners, but only P4 for the time being. Plenty of time to go back to the pit, strap on another fresh set of soft tires, which most of these guys will still have at least one fresh set available. Sipos Patrick actually already out there on his probably final set of soft tires. Oh, no, actually, no, he's probably got one more in the bag as well. But he can run, he can afford to run this early in the session and not have to wait until the track improvement is 100% there. Lernkert in A2 UK also on outlaps. I'm not sure if Mahavir is still pushing or not in the Ferrari through Pinheirinho. But yeah, let's take a look at Patrick now. Sipos, the brother of the usual Sipos we see, standing in for his brother in the Williams today. Patrick coming across the line to start the flying lap. And once again, my stream freezes, so why don't you take it away?
Nice and late onto the brakes into the center S. Now hold it nice and tight as you make your way through the Curva del Sol, letting it out on the exit. DRS open, and now get ready to spot your braking point down into the Descida del Lago. Braking out almost 50 meters, get right up onto the curb and letting it out, using up as much track as possible as you ping your way out of the Descida del Lago and make your way into Ferradura. Turn the car in and just hope that it sticks, and it does for Sipos. He gets both apexes and now a little bit of an under rotation on the front right as he really pushes the brakes there to the max through the tight right-hander of turn 8. Through turn 9 and now down into 10. Again, super late on the brakes and getting that little bit of an under rotation on the front right tire. Through the left-hander, completely flat, let it out, and now use all of the track. In fact, you're not even on the track, you're on the AstroTurf as you ping your way out on to the start-finish straight. The Retta Posta using up the curb, and line of least resistance to the start-finish line. What's it going to be? It's bloody fast. That is a 106.69 from Patrick. Jacob is in shock right now. But we got into the 106. What a lap from Patrick. What can A2 do? This is fairly quick. 107 dead for the McLaren.
Yeah, good lap there from A2 UK to manage to get all the way up into P2. But Patrick's lap time, look at that, 106.690. That is just incredible from Patrick, and showing why we were hyping him up and why we were saying, you think his brother's quick? Well, this guy's even quicker. And yeah, look at that, 3/10 clear, 3.5 tenths in fact, at a track where, you know, the gaps tend to be pretty small because the lap times are pretty low. So Sipos really showing that he's the class of the field at the moment. Iceman looking to have something to say about that, though, as he's purple through Sector 2. Looks smooth through Juncal as well as he comes up towards the line in what is currently the second of the two Williams, keeping well to the left, of course, and only improves by 1.5 tenths up to P4. So can't even displace the likes of Ruben and A2 UK from second and third.
No, he cannot. And Iceman and Maverick are so closely matched, but A2 and Ruben are showing phenomenal pace. What can Lowenkirk pull out? He hasn't set a lap yet. The only man to not have set a lap in Q3. And he's going to be wanting to get into the 107s and battle the likes of Kenners and Mahavir. It's looking pretty fast. 107.8, and he's just 4 tenths shy of Kenners.
Yeah, that is a decent lap. But I think Lowenkirk would be hoping for a little bit more than that in the Red Bull, as Ruben sort of flipped the script based on what we saw from them in the last qualifying session when Lowenkirk was coming out on top. But Ruben, as you mentioned, was holding those cards close to his chest and had this capability in him to improve, as he's not on an outlap. But yeah,
I think he is on an outlap because it says he's done 0 laps on those soft tires, so...
Yeah, but it would say outlap next to his name if he was actually on the outlap. So 0 laps is what it will say when you're on your first flying lap, but evidently Ruben backed out of his first flying lap very early on. So this is basically a second outlap, I believe, for the South African. You can see him now gunning it as he heads up towards Juncal to actually start his final, or probably final attempt proper. He might go for one more run on this same set of tyres. We'll have to wait and see about that, as DRS wide open He heads up towards the start-finish line to commence the lap. Into the center S as we go. The track falls away from you on the inside, causing so many lockups as we saw there from the Red Bull driver. However, the rest of the center S's looked pretty good for him.
Keep an eye on Mahavir on the timing list.
As well. Mahavir coming across the line. It's still P6 for the Ferrari driver from the time being. Not sure if he invalidated, but he can still push again on that same set of tires, as Ruben is doing as well. Through Ferradura we go. And that's all okay. Pretty tough braking zone here, but no problems for the South African car. Swings around with the rear end just a little bit on the exit, but he controlled it nicely into Pico de Pato now. Doesn't quite, well, you know, inches away from the apex, but there's a tiny bit more time to be had for the Red Bull driver. Into the final corner, leaving a little bit on the table on the exit, you must say. So potentially some more time in this for Ruben if he were to have another go at it. But nevertheless, as he comes up towards the line, we'll see just how strong a time this is. For the man currently in P3, it's P2 now with a 106.966. It's nowhere near challenging Sipos, but it's definitely very, very fast indeed.
Yep, and Maverick is still in the pits. He's got enough time to come out. Mahavir's going to dive into the pits. He might just have enough time by the skin of his teeth to put on a fresh set of soft tires and go out one last time. Either way, the South African putting in a fantastic lap. Nobody's able to get anywhere near Patrick right now, but Ruben's the second driver to get into those 106s.
And we'll see if any other drivers are able to do so. A2 UK is out there pushing. We're on board with Iceman, who's about to start his final flying lap of the session. The Macedonian driver been ever so slightly off color for a champion, the Premier X champion we are on board with now, but currently sitting in P4. Doesn't quite look like he's had the pace to challenge at the very top of the order, and he'll be disappointed to be behind Ruben and A2 UK for the moment, but can he do anything about it with this lap?
Did you see that back end on the way out of the double left-hander? Iceman is pushing so hard through Ferradura. He keeps it in check into the tight right-hander of turn 8. Now into the Pinheirino. Nice and tidy so far as Iceman squeezes the throttle on. And just watch that throttle on the bottom right of your screen as he just inches it on. And now you're full throttle. It takes so long. You have to be so careful, so tentative. Into the final corner, about 50 meters on the brakes and ping it out on the exit. A2 UK is just up ahead. Does he improve a 106.975? Just short of Ruben. Can Iceman do any better? It's looked like a decent lap. Across the line comes Iceman. 107 dead is P4. Can Maverick do any better?
We'll have to wait and see, but Sipos went even faster. Sipos Patrick, of course, went even faster at the top. Let's see what the Mercedes of Maverick is doing. Ken is also out there pushing as well. As I'm still having some technical issues on my end, so you might have to take it for the remainder of qualifying here.
Well, Maverick is a 10th up on his personal best at the moment. He needs to find another 10th. Still 118 thousandths of a second up on his personal best. That's not going to be enough to hit Iceman for P5. And Maverick and Mahavir are the only two who you really think can contest. 107 dead from Maverick, and it's a 2,000 slower than Iceman. From second to fifth, separated by just over a tenth of a second. Mahavir has dived into the pits. It is just Kenneth and Owen on laps right now, and I don't really think they'll be able to contest with the top 5. However, Kenneth is 2 tenths up. He should be able to jump ahead of Mahavir with this lap. And if he was able to find a good enough run coming through Junkao, maybe he could dare to dream of pipping Maverick for P5. Here we go then. Kenneth across the line. It's a 107.193. And he was just a tenth shy of that elusive top 5. But a very good lap from the Racing Point. Mahavir being the one who misses out, being the oddball, if you will. We expected him to be a little bit higher in the standings, as that is a shame and a half. But either way, Jacob, we were both right with Patrick. I think you take the spoils of this prediction because you predicted Iceman ahead of Maverick. I put Maverick ahead of Iceman, and it was the Macedonian who pipped the Brit in the end. with that said, your top 10 heading into the race. Patrick on pole ahead of Ruben, A2UK, Iceman, Maverick, Kenners with a fantastic P6 ahead of Mahavir, Raghunathan, Lowenkert, Owen AK, and Sudek. And Jacob, I should say, that was close to say the least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, not that close right at the very top, but close throughout the rest of the field. Very, very interesting qualifying session. And now the question remains is whether Patrick can make the same sort of pace last in a race setting as he was able to show in that qualifying.
Yeah, and we're just hearing from Maverick as well in the chat that apparently he got held up a little bit on his fastest lap, and he was looking very quick indeed, if his reports are correct. Either way, that'll be one for the stewards to decide. Now, because I hate you, Jacob, I'm going to do my prediction for the top 3 first.
Okay.
So
sure.
I'm going to go Patrick, Ruben, Maverick.
Patrick, Ruben, Maverick. Okay. Yeah, that's possible. I assume we're saying that I can't say the same as you, so I'm going to say Patrick.
You can if you want, but
yeah,
it'll just look very sus.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say Patrick. I'm going to say A2UK. No.
Okay.
No, Patrick, Ruben, A2UK. That's my. No, actually, no. Patrick, A2UK, Iceman. That's my 3. I've decided.
Okay. What do you
Ruben
think are the
starting on the
chances? Oh, Ruben is on the softs. Of course, he did his lap in Q2 on the soft, so it's going to be super duper critical right now for Ruben to get a good start. Of course, on the softs, he can get a much better start than the mediums, but a short run here at Interlagos down into turn 1. Ruben needs to ace his start, get ahead of Sipos, and absolutely belt it.
Yeah, just taking a look down the order at the tyre selections. Elon Tusk, who has arrived and has fortuitously found his way into, I think that's an Alfa Romeo at the very back, which is the car he should be in, so that's nice, is starting on a set of hard tyres. Turex and Sudek both opting for softs. Kev GL going for mediums. And Outlaw is in P10, even though he was knocked out in Q2. Is someone missing?
There is someone missing. Who are we missing?
Oh, did Sudek... Oh, maybe Sudek had a penalty and it's moved him down behind Outlaw. I think that's what's happened.
Ah, okay, yes.
So, yeah, that explains why...
We did have 15 drivers. We definitely had 15 drivers at the start, I'm pretty sure.
I think we had 12 at the start, and I think 2 more joined. So I think this is correct.
Okay.
Hopefully. As my technical issues seem to have abated for the time being, touching wood very firmly as I say that. So hopefully should be all good to go for the start of this race.
Well, I can't really touch wood right now because I have no wood around. Just metal and plastic.
Very
Darn the 21st century. Well, we get ready to go. Patrick on the medium tyres, Ruben on the soft tyres. He's going to be wanting to get the job done on Patrick as soon as possible and a push. Safety cars could throw all of this absolutely down the drain, and safety cars at Interlagos are not unheard of. Here we go then. And apparently Sudek's at the front. At least no issues for Maverick. And where are our red lights? We don't have red lights, but we are going racing nonetheless. It's not a great start for Ruben, but he will be able to hold on to the position from A2 UK. As down the inside goes the Racing Point, and A2 looks aggressive. Maverick is trying to find his feet as well. He's going to be able to get a good run coming out of the curve at the Sol, and he'll slot right in behind the McLaren on the run down to the Descida del Lago, but no space for the Mercedes at all. As down the inside goes Kenners on A2 UK. He squeezes him wide, and Maverick's going to try to follow through. Will disaster fall Maverick as it did back at Spa? Maverick round the outside, always trying to be as brave as possible. But A2 UK will hold on to the position as Maverick now looks for the outside into the right-hander. And Lowenko will show his nose down the inside temporarily.
Yeah, Iceman went wide through turn 1. Several drivers actually went wide. There was a lot of carbon fiber going flying as well. So Iceman down into P11, but he has reclaimed the position on Kev GL since then. So might have got away without damage, just maybe back there in P11 at the moment. Outlaw and Owen AK going side by side. That's Outlaw with a good start in the Haas, starting on those soft tyres. The decision paying off thus far, although he does lose out the position once again to Owen, who fights back. But yeah, A2 UK and Maverick very close to each other on the road at the moment as Iceman blasts past Turex. Turex, the Renault driver, having to head into the pit. Seems like the only one who has to go into the pits to fix his front wing damage. He actually gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. That's going to be, is that Mahavir side by side with Sudek at the very back, and it seems to have not gone very well for the Ferrari, who seems to be facing the wrong way in the Senna S's back there.
Disaster once again for the Indian driver, and he just can't seem to get a clean race, can Mahavir, and that's definitely part of his front wing missing, as I think Turex went very wide coming out of the pits. Hopefully he didn't hit his front wing against the pit exit barrier. However, Iceman progressing up through the field. He's in a P9. He does have a little bit of a gap now between himself and the Haas of Outlaw up ahead. Either way, good stuff from Iceman. Ruben closing in onto Sipos. Patrick as well, as Patrick has a bit of a moment on the exit with those medium tyres. Ruben needs to use this soft advantage as early as he can, and he will do so. We get a bit of a stutter, but down the inside it goes the South African, and Ruben will claim the lead of the race. But Patrick on the outside will try his best to fight this, slots in behind for now, and that might be the smart option considering the Williams is on the medium compound of tyres.
Yeah, this is not the battle for Patrick right now. Patrick just wants to win this race. It doesn't matter to him what Ruben does, because the difference in tyre strategy should mean that it's an inevitability that he's going to end up getting ahead of the Red Bull come the end of this race. And right now is when Ruben will be at his strongest relative to the cars around him. Kenna's behind as well on those soft tyres as well. Doesn't seem to quite be able to hold the pace of Sipos and Ruben up at the front, as the timing tower has now decided to sort itself out, so that's nice. We can see the true gaps as Loenkert starting to form a gap between himself and Maverick. A2 UK actually sticking with Kenna's pretty well as well, despite the difference in their tyre compounds. Mahavir did, of course, have to come into the pits to fix that front wing damage, so he's going to be well out the back of the order.
Yeah, he will indeed. Disaster for the Indian driver, and also Outlaw made a bit of a mistake because he's fallen behind Iceman, who is now 2.5 seconds behind Owen. So a lot of clear air for the Macedonian to hunt down Owen AK up ahead as A2 closing in on Kenna's, and we've got two-way scraps. One between Ruben and Patrick for the lead, and then A2 hunting down Kenna's for the final podium spot. As that is Mahavir's ghosting Ferrari that is getting lapped by our race leaders.
Getting lapped already, and this is very bad news for Maverick, as we've already mentioned. Ruben having to be careful in his mirrors now as Mahavir will leave the session. Not sure if that's a disconnect intentionally or otherwise. But Ruben, yeah, Sipos Patrick was pretty close behind him into Desquito de Lago that time around. So Ruben is not home and dry out there in the front for the time being. And yeah, it might be about this time when the soft tyres are starting to lose just a little bit of their performance, although Ruben showed very nicely in the Q1 session that you can run at least 9 laps on those tyres and still be improving therein. So he will probably be feeling good for a few laps to come. But yeah, Patrick with the DRS, thinking about fighting back.
But look at A2 UK behind. He's going to be alongside down into the Senna S. Kenna's will hold the inside, but A2 will be able to get a great run, and Kenna's no DRS from Patrick. A2 should have this one done and dusted as we head down into the Desquito de Lago. A lot of ERS used by Kenna's. A2 round the outside, won't be able to pull off the move this time round on the Racing Point, who does run a little bit wide through the left-hander, and A2 forces slotting behind as Maverick just watches all of this unfold in front of him.
Yeah, Kenna's just about hanging on here, but under a lot of pressure from A2 UK. Maverick, yeah, is just watching, but he's kind of slightly, maybe it's a bit harsh to say, but I think he might be slightly struggling to stick with these two guys at the moment. His patience doesn't quite be there. He's not exactly all over the back of them, and given that they were battling, that's exactly where I would expect him to be. However, he might be doing that on purpose, as we see Kev GL's car off the road before Ferradura, so he's dropping all the way down to P12. Of course, Turex and Mahavir behind him, because both of them had to make a pit stop at the beginning of this race. A2 UK in the slipstream with DRS available, might be thinking about making moves up ahead. Patrick's actually making a move to reclaim the race lead, but here comes A2 UK up the inside of Kenner's as well. Kenner's forced to run wide through turn 1. That'll compromise the line through turn 2, and look at the switchback. Look at the power that A2 UK has on the exit under traction. There is Kenner's fighting back as here we are up at the front. Ruben and Patrick side by side. It's the Hungarian who takes the advantage this time around. The inside line goes to Patrick, and so does P1. Meanwhile, further back, Kenner's and A2
Maverick's
UK
close in as well.
And Maverick might be side by side with them as well. He's so close behind them, but it is still Kenner's in P3 for the time being. Maverick was very close to chopping off some of his nose there by going into the back of the McLaren, but managed to avoid the rear end.
The issue for A2 UK right now is, as we saw on the start-finish rate, as Maverick almost runs into the back of A2. I think he actually did for a second. Lowenka picks up a 3-second time penalty. But the issue for A2 UK is on the start-finish rate, he had 0 ERS. So despite him getting the move done beautifully on Kenner's had ERS and was able just to deploy it on the second straight, and there was nothing that A2 UK could do. A2 needs to just gain a bit of ERS and make sure he gets a job done down into the Descida de Largo, and then he can push up for the remainder of the lap. As down the inside goes A2 UK. Kenneth will once again try to hold it around the outside, and it is a deja vu, but A2, he can't get the switchback. He's now on the inside through the Curva del Sol, and Maverick still watching all of this unfold. His racing point from McLaren, from Mercedes, down into the Descida de Largo. A2 around the outside, and I think this time he might have hold it. They're still side by side as they make their way out of the Descida de Largo. There's contact, and Kenner smashes into the wall, and Maverick will get promoted up to P4, and that, to me, just looked like a racing incident, Jacob.
Yeah, I think Kenner's actually got on the grass on the left-hand side, and that's what caused him to spin out. Thankfully, I think he ghosted just before he would have collected Maverick, as Maverick has a big slide on the exit of Pinheirino as well. Further behind, Owen AK was able to get past Lernkert, but then I think Lernkert got the position back, and Iceman was actually able to capitalize by taking P6 away from Owen, as Kevin's still falling, Kenner's, still falling down the order.
Maverick.
Now, that's A2 UK slow on the exit. That might be some sort of connection issue. Yeah, A2 UK leaving the session. Oh no, that's gutting for the McLaren driver, who was on track for a decent podium position at the very least today. And now he'll need to get back into the session as quick as he possibly can, because every second that the AI is in control of that car, it'll be falling further and further behind. Iceman with a speculative effort into turn 1. Lernkert holds the line and the position for the time being, and actually gets a decent run through the center S's in the Curva del Sol. Iceman might fight back into the Descida de Largo, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. Indeed, he is not. But these guys, you can see they're already coming up on the back of A2 UK, and that car is just going so slowly right now.
And you've got to feel so bad for A2 UK, 8th in the championship, and he's only 30 points behind Kenner's. And the way things were looking, it was a looking set for A2 to really close down that gap to qualify for the FXR showdown. But with A2 now disconnected, with Chegwin not racing, this is looking great. But Iceman round the outside of Lowenka, he's going to get the job done with those medium tyres. They're in a much better condition than the soft tyres, and A2 and Owen AK might look to take advantage of this as well as they make their way into Zhongkao. Can Owen get the run? It looks like it's pretty decent. He's going to squeeze his way down the inside, and he gets forced onto the grass by Lowenka. Thankfully, though, Owen keeps it pointed in the right direction, and Lowenka will dive into the pits.
Yeah, probably just looking to get rid of that set of soft tyres, and he was not willing to let Owen AK through any sooner than he had to. The Dutchman into the pits, and here is our race leader, Patrick, followed by Ruben in P2. The gap's now up to 1.5 seconds, and you can see from that the soft tyres are starting to fall away. The mediums, definitely the tyre to be on at this stage of the race. Elon Tusk was running well on the hards, but had a little bit of a sort of half spin, I think, judging by the minimap, through Pinheirino last time around, so fell down the order just a little bit to P9 in the Alfa Romeo, but still looking good for some solid points, as is, of course, everyone in the field, because everyone that finishes the race will score points. Kenner's now getting past the ghosted car of A2 UK. He'll be feeling pretty hard done by what happened. The battle between himself, Maverick, and A2 UK looked like it was so juicy, and the racing was really clean for the most part, but Kenner's dropped the car, and A2 UK just disconnected from the session, so we're kind of robbed of what could have been an excellent race-long battle there, but Maverick won't mind, as he's gained 2 positions from those 2 guys falling away.
Yeah, and things are looking good for both Patrick and Maverick, because Ruben, while he's ahead of Maverick, he is on those soft tyres, so this race will fall away from him just a little bit. in the strategy sense at the very least. Lowenkurt's put on hard tires, and here at Brazil, you can go for either softs onto hards, or you can look for soft, medium, soft, medium, mediums, depending on your tire wear.
We'll have to wait and see whether anyone actually tries to run that two-stop strategy. Apart from those who have been forced to pit very early and have therefore been forced to run two stops. Interesting to see if Ruben is going for that or not. He's definitely staying out a fair bit longer than his teammate did here, and he is losing pace as a result of it, but he's comfortably in P2. I'm not sure whether he thinks he can challenge for the race win or not, but if he doesn't think that, if he's just happy to go for a solid podium slot here, he's still looking good for P2. 6.5 seconds to Maverick behind.
A2 has rejoined the session. Sure. Hopefully he can get into his car. We'll have to keep an eye on that gap between A2 and the likes of Lowenkert and Elon Tusk.
Yeah, Lowenkert managing to get past A2UK before A2UK could regain the driving seat, and that's Patrick with a 3-second time penalty. So that might get Ruben's ears up just a little bit here now in the Red Bull. Currently 2 seconds behind, but he is falling away because of the strategy. So the strategy might come back to him for a certain portion of this race. He still needs to stay within 3 seconds of Patrick come the end of this race to claim P1, based on that penalty at least. Patrick might get more penalties. Ruben might pick up a penalty of his own. There's plenty of time left to go in this race, but there haven't been quite so many penalties as we might have expected thus far. There have been plenty, but, fewer than I might have anticipated. Sudek, very well timed there, gets the 3-second time penalty, his second or third of the race.
Yeah, and those penalties are going to add up. A2 still hasn't got behind the wheel of that McLaren. He's still dropping down. I think this lap Ruben's going to dive into the pits. We saw him do about 9 laps in quali. Ruben, he'll stay out for a little bit longer, and I don't know if the mediums will be able to do 24 laps, so most likely going to be hards to the end for Ruben as medium softs. I think if you did that, there'd just be so much more life left in the tyres that I think just going for the hards from here will probably be the better shout.
I'll have to wait and see what the decision is. Ruben's still pounding around out there. I think if Ruben was going to go onto hards to the end of this race, he would have done so already. So I think he's planning on strapping on a set of mediums. I don't know whether he's trying to go softs and then mediums to the end. That would be a bit of a tall order. But he might be thinking about a two-stop here with a long opening stint. Or he might just think that he doesn't have the ability to make the hard tyres last in the same way that Lowenkert definitely feels that he can after he pitted a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, and, well, if Ruben wants to go soft mediums, he needs to get those softs to at least lap 15, I would say. If your softs do 15 laps, then maybe your mediums can do about 20 laps. We'll have to wait and see. But if he does want to go soft, medium, softs, well, he's already done 12 laps on these softs, which is what he qualified on. So he'll be able to do at least 13 on the next set of softs, and he'll, already be at lap 26. So he'll only have 10 laps to do on the medium tyres. As Sudek loses the back end on the exit of Vico de Pato. And, well, that's going to cost him a bit of time. He was running pretty close to Kenner's. And now Elon Tusk is going to be smelling an opportunity. And he smells a time penalty as well.
Yeah, we've got the spectator's curse going on at the moment. We jump on board with Sudek, he makes a mistake. We jump on board with Elon Tusk, he gets a 3-second time penalty. Now, however, he might be able to redeem himself just a little bit as he's going to make the move on Sudek up towards turn 1 here. Lowenkert picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Elon Tusk got the inside, they bang wheels. Sudek turned in on him there. I'm not sure if he realized the Alfa Romeo was on his inside. Sudek firm through turn 2, but does give the space in the end. All the way through turn 3 they go with the Alfa Romeo on the inside line. This will still be the inside line when it comes to turn 4, so this is where you want to be if you're Elon Tusk. However, Sudek battling around the outside. That's a nice move from the McLaren driver, and the Canadian will have to settle for P8 for the time being. They will get another crack at it shortly.
Great defending coming through from Sudek, and he holds on to P7 for now. Elon Tusk starting to get feisty on 12 up old hard tyres, so his tyres would be in much better condition than Sudek's. Ruben dives into the pits from his 13-lap old soft tyre. So if he puts on a set of mediums and wants to go to the end, he'll need to do 22 laps. He puts on the hard, so he's definitely going to be going to the end with that set of tyres. As Elon Tusk, he will have the DRS on Sudek this time round. Will he be able to find the move down into the center S?
I wonder why there's such a difference between what Lernker opted to do and what his teammate Ruben opted to do. Lernker seems to be the one who's being kind of well, Outlaw pitted at a similar time as well. So there seem to be two philosophies here. Either you try and pit onto the hards as early as you can, as soon as those softs start to fall away, or you try and extend the soft stint for as long as you can so that you'll have fresh hard tires basically at peak performance to the whole end of the race, probably, really. They're not really going to fall away much in the laps we have remaining.
I have good
Kenners
news,
is actually
Jacob.
still out there. Oh, yeah?
A2 has reconnected. You can see that he's reconnected because he is hunting down Lowenka and he is closing in quickly. That gap was at about 4.1 half a minute ago, and he's closing down by a tenth every few corners. So within a few laps, he's going to be on the back of the Red Bull. That being said, A2 has at least one more stop to do.
Yeah, of course. So that is the big difference between himself and Lowenka. There's also the tyre difference as well. Owen actually pitting off of the medium tyres that he's currently on. A2UK still finding pace on his, though. So that's interesting that Owen decided to pit as early as he did. That's definitely going to be a set of hard tyres for the Norwegian driver, and it is. So he'll be coming out just in around, what, P78? He'll be coming out near the battle, actually, between Lowenkert and A2UK. Looks like he might just come out between them.
Yeah, he might indeed, which means A2 UK is going to be, well, after he makes his pit stop, he's going to be an entire pit stop behind Owen, and then he's going to have to try to hunt him down. And A2, he definitely has a pace to try to pull something like that off, but his target is to finish ahead of Kenners. He needs to close those 30 points in by the end of the next race, the season finale at Abu Dhabi, to make it into the FXR showdown. And, well, first things first, he needs to finish ahead of his rival.
I like this from Patrick. He's pitted now off of his medium tyres. Only a lap or two later than Ruben came into the pits for his set of hards. And I think Patrick knows that he has the pace advantage over Ruben here. He doesn't need to pound round as long as he can on those mediums before going on to the hards. All he needs to do is be on the same set of tyres that Ruben is at roughly the same age, and he should be able to win this race. And look how far ahead of Ruben he's come out as well. He's actually managed to overcut him. So Ruben might have had a bit of trouble on his outlap there, as it's a 6.6 second gap between them. Kenners comes into the pits as well from his soft tyres. But yeah, so Patrick, I mean, a lot of the time, if you're starting on the mediums, the temptation is to run them as long as you can and then get like a really short, hard stint at the end. But that's not what Patrick needs to do. Patrick doesn't need to set the fastest overall race time that he can manage here. He just needs to beat what's put in front of him. And this is the best way to do that, as it looks like Lowenkert with a major moment through turn 5. Owen might have the opportunity to claim this position away from a sister teammate. These guys have been battling quite a lot so far this race, and A2 UK is in close attendance as well.
And A2 UK, this lap he needs to beat. He needs to make sure he's not battling with Owen and Lowenkert. He will get the undercut off 100% if he pits now. Both drivers will be going to the end, so I think A2 UK, he should just bite the bullet right now, pit onto a fresh set of tyres, and then just start hunting them down again. But in regards to Patrick, he had medium tyres. Sure, Ruben was on fresh hards, but the mediums still had life in them, and Patrick just made sure that he pitted before those mediums started to lose their life. Great stuff from Patrick. And, well, now he's ahead of Ruben in strategy and on track as well.
So it's looking pretty good for your prediction at the moment. With Patrick, Ruben,
I got
Maverick,
a bit
I
lucky.
believe, was your podium.
It was.
Yeah, with Iceman's incident through turn 1, I didn't really get a clean look at what that was. It's actually Owen and A2 UK. They're going to be going side by side. UK versus AK. And I think it's UK that's going to get the advantage here as the AlphaTauri is pushed wide. Still side by side, battling through the exit of turn 5. The inside for Ferradura now. But running over the curbs will unsettle the car. They're still side by side as they head in towards turn 8. And this time, the final advantage has been gained by A2 UK, who will claim the position. Iceman speeding in the pit lane. That's something we've seen from him a couple of times this season, so he might need to clean up that one. I'm sure he's not the happiest man in that cockpit at the moment, given the way the race has gone so far as he pits from the lead.
He doesn't pit from the lead indeed, and I think the most impressive thing about that battle between A2 UK and Owen AK is the fact that they lost maybe a tenth to Lowenkert through those 2 sectors in their entirety. And now A2 UK closes in onto Lowenkert. He's going to be able to get past. He'll be able to push for 2-3 laps before pitting on to those hard tires that will take him to the end. If he can last for, I'd say, another 4 laps, he could risk going onto the softs to the end, but it is going to be a big risk as Lowencut looks to come back on A2. A2 goes defensive, and A2 will hold on to 6th place. Was that a lag spike? I'm not sure what happened. I looked over, and then all of a sudden, A2 just dropped behind Lowencut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a lag spike of my own right now, so I couldn't actually tell you what's happened here. But yeah, Lowencut reclaiming the position. I'm back, so I can see everything again now. And yeah, A2 UK definitely.
YouTube stream now. What happened?
Oh
no, Lowencut just passed A2. He just got a better drive and he went down the inside. Okay, I think A2 just outbraked himself slightly. But it's not what A2 needs because 2 seconds up the road is Elon, and A2 really just wants to hunt down Elon and just get a move on with his race. He doesn't want to be wasting time battling with the likes of Lowencut and AK when he's much quicker than them. The only thing that's holding him back is his tyre wear. But A2, he's got the job done this time, and hopefully he's got enough ERS, and well, with Lowencut running wide through the S's, he'll have the job done. And now Owen will actually have a look at Lowencut as Lowencut loses the back end. I think there was a bit of contact there. Whose front wing went out? That was Lowencut's.
That's Lowencut's, yeah.
Well, that's good news for A2 UK.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it is definitely good news for A2 UK, but yeah, bad news for Lowencut in the Red Bull there. We saw him getting really scruffy on the curbs as he was trying to defend, got way offline through the center S's, and then going side by side through the center S's is a tough thing to do at the best of times, and I didn't get a clear look at what happened between Owen, AK, and Lowencut. I can imagine roughly what it looked like, but not well enough to guess who was to blame for it, but yeah, that's a bit of an incident between those two. And Lowencut has had a couple of unlucky incidents. I remember he got similarly spun out, I think, through cops in the British Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. Iceman, by the way, came out in P4, so he's done a really nice recovery drive once again in the Williams, as we would expect from our now crowned champion in Premier X. And he will be looking to close down Maverick and maybe try and claim a space on the podium. Patrick gets his second pre-second time penalty of the race, but unfortunately for Ruben, the pace is such that Patrick still has an 8.5 second buffer to the South African. So with only 6 seconds of time penalties for the time being, that will be not enough to dethrone Patrick.
And A2 is absolutely hounding down Elon. Another thing I want to bring up with regards to the Lowencut incident is currently you've got Red Bull and they are sitting 30 points behind Alfa Romeo. However, they're only 90 points, or pardon me, not 90, they're 70 points behind Racing Point. And with the kind of performance that Ruben's putting in, if Lowencut can just make sure he finishes ahead of Elon Tusk, which he's going to be nip and tuck able to do depending on his pace in this final stint, that's going to be huge. That's going to be 30 points instantly going towards Red Bull, which means that they have a chance for P3 in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, so the pressure is on for Ruben then, as he looks to claim a solid points haul in this race. A2 UK looking to do something similar after he was robbed of a chance of battling for the podium by disconnection issues, but makes the move easily onto Elon Tusk. Those 20-lap-old medium tyres, he's driving them like they're fresh right now. He's just blasting past people left and right. It has so much pace, even though there's 20 laps on those mediums. So that is pretty incredible from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, he's going to try to go for another 2-3 laps and then put on the soft tires. We saw Ruben do, 13 laps on his soft tires. So, and those were soft tires that he qualified on. So without a doubt, I think if A2 UK puts on soft tires at the end of the next lap, he will definitely be able to get to the end, maybe hit about 60% tire wear or something like that, I would assume.
Yeah, and he'll have some fun battling up through the field as well with that. You know, he's with these incredibly old tires, he's been able to make light work of some of these guys. So what will he do when he's on fresh softs? I can't wait to find out. Lowencut might be one of the first drivers he comes up against.
Well, don't forget,
Lowencut might be even further behind because he had to pit, of course, for the front wing change as well.
Yeah, so I reckon when A2 UK pits, he's going to be coming out about 7 seconds behind Sudek, because I think Lowencut, he damaged his front wing, so he lost 5 seconds in the pits, plus another 5 or so seconds with that spin, and then combined with the fact that A2's faster than Lowencut, Actually, A2 will be coming out 5 seconds behind Sudek, maybe less. And Elon Tusk has to pit. So A2 is only going to have to get past Sudek, Owen, and Kenneth. Maybe not even Sudek if he can really nail the next couple of laps.
Yeah, and that will be a solid recovery drive from A2 UK. It's a shame that it has to be a recovery, though, and not just a solid drive in its own right. As Maverick's actually purple through Sector 2, pushing pretty hard in the Mercedes, trying to get within range of Ruben for P2, but they have such even pace, those two, at the moment, that there seems to be no one pulling any major advantage on either of the others. I think Kev might have had an issue there in Sector 3, or the end of Sector 2, I should say. He's actually just about to get lapped here by his temporary teammate, as Kev is just standing in for the AlphaTauri team.
Yeah, as Owen now picks up a 3-second time penalty. A2 dives in the pits. This is when we expected him to pit, and let's just see how far behind Sudek he will come out. Are those soft tires going onto A2 UK's car?
Someone just got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I didn't see who that was, but that's an interesting one to have picked up. We'll have
Who
to
is
wait
close
and
to someone
see
else on
that.
track? No one. I mean,
Okay,
Elon Tusk is close to one of the racing points, but he was already ahead of Kenners.
I think he was already ahead of Kenneth, so I don't really know what that could have been. But it's...
there's a Williams. There's a Williams next to the Renault of Turex.
Yeah, but
that
there's
is
a lap
Iceman.
difference between those. That's not going to be ignoring yellow flag issue, I don't think.
If you unlap yourself, or if you lap someone behind during a yellow flag, technically you're overtaking on the yellows and ignoring yellow flags. So it could be. I don't know if it is, but it could be. Also, A2 UK, 4.5 seconds behind Sudek, pretty much exactly what we predicted. I think Lowenkirk got another time penalty as well. And there have been quite a few time penalties as Iceman set the fastest lap of the race, but that's going to get absolutely smashed by A2 in a couple of laps. Here comes Kenneth on Elon Tusk. He'll go defensive. Kenneth's round the outside, and Elon won't make it difficult for him.
Yeah, not going to make it too difficult, certainly, as Kenneth does have a huge tyre advantage over Elon Tusk at this stage of the race. ONAK is having to come into the pit. I wonder if he picked up some front wing damage somewhere around the lap, and that's not good news for him. Currently looking to stay P5 in the championship, has a little bit of a buffer, but he won't want to be falling down the order like he's having to do now to make this pit stop, and that might actually put him somewhere near Lowenkirk when he comes out of the pits, and they've had an incident or two so far this race as well, so they probably won't be too happy to see each other when he comes out of the pits. Iceman setting the fastest lap, by the way. He is closing down Maverick, so Iceman, it's not over yet for him. He could try and take P3 away from Maverick, but I think he has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane that he has to contend with.
Yeah, and it's not just that for Iceman. Well, Iceman's closing in onto Maverick, but Maverick, I think, is closing in onto Ruben as A2 UK has closed onto the back of Sudek. Now, these two are teammates, but of course, drivers don't always care about being teammates. However, that being said, Sudek doesn't make things difficult for A2. A2 sweeps past as Kenners sets the fastest lap of the race. I don't know where that came from, but he is pushing all of a sudden. Elon Tusk is in the pits. Let's see where he comes out relative to Owen, because Owen, only 50 points behind Elon in the championship, has an outside as a chance of jumping ahead. But if Kenneth can finish ahead of Lowenkirk, if Kenneth can finish ahead of, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Never mind. Yeah.
No
Sorry,
worries.
Kenneth is hunting down Owen in the championship.
Yes, Kenneth is hunting down Owen in the championship. That is true. It's quite a big difference between them. Oh dear,
no.
that's Elon Tusk. Oh no, he's just coming out on the soft. He was so ready. You can imagine how ready he'd be just to start pushing on those soft tires and having all the pace in the world. And then you do that, and you have slightly less pace than all the pace in the world. So that's not great. As Maverick's actually really starting to close in on Ruben. Good thing that you mentioned that, because it's now 1.6 seconds between them, and it was 1.5 just for a moment there as well. Iceman has actually had a moment. He's spun. I think that must have been through Juncal, as he's just about got going again on the main
wing damage
straight.
as well, I think. He's really dropping back by over a tenth of corner, so somewhere he's lost a piece of his front wing. I'm not sure if it was with a back marker, but has he got it all sorted? Maybe it was just overheated tires.
That's going to damage your front wing.
That's going to damage your front wing. And,
well, his front wing's fine.
Okay,
Well,
but he's
okay.
behind Kenners now. I don't know what on earth happened. Iceman breaking the laws of physics. I think we might have to send that clip to Codemasters. We know how much they love to fix issues.
Oh, we might have to send that one as well. I don't know what. Oh, he's
okay. Taking a tour. He's taking a tour here.
I mean, he's world champion, right? Or
oh yes,
FXR champion, world
it's his
champion,
parade race, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's parade lap
on a show. Yeah, it doesn't matter what he does now. He can do whatever he wants. He's playing the clown music. Yep. Well, okay. Yeah, all right, Iceman.
He's happy. He's happy.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to keep looking at Iceman out there doing his wacky antics,
production.
I think it might be a good idea to keep. He left the session. That might be an accidental disconnect, to be honest. Not really sure. But Maverick, really closing up behind Ruben. So we should probably pay attention to this. As funny as it would be just to watch Iceman for the rest of the race.
Oh, it would be great. A2 closing in. Oh, never mind. He's closing in on Iceman. He's about 18 seconds behind Kenners with 10 laps to go. So he needs to be gaining by about 2 seconds a lap. I know A2 is fast, but I don't think he is that fast. And this is a strong performance by Kenners, who all of a sudden finds himself in the top of 4. Now, Maverick really closing in on Ruben. He's within a second. Maverick has been absolutely flying these last few laps and on the freshest hard tyres of the top 3 completely. And it's going to come down to a bit of an ERS battle. And we know as well, even if you overtake into turn 1, you can just get repassed down into turn 4. Patrick, another time penalty. That is now 9 seconds worth, but he is 11 seconds ahead of Ruben. So if he gets another one, he will then really have to start to worry.
I think the law is every time he gains 4 seconds on the car behind, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. Just so it's always tantalizingly close, but not quite close enough. Now, Maverick all over the back of Ruben, and all of a sudden, in this phase of the race, it's the Mercedes of Maverick that has so much more pace than the Red Bull of Ruben up ahead. You can see Ruben struggling through Pinheirino there to hold on to the car. And I don't really know what's happened because there's 2 laps difference in the age of their tires. That's not that big of a deal. So Ruben is really struggling for some reason. I don't know whether he's got damage or not, but that wouldn't explain the oversteer he was having under traction. No, he seems fine in terms of front wing. So I wonder if he's got a setup that punishes the rear tires a bit more in terms of tire temperature. He might be struggling to hold on to those just a little bit, as now here comes the opportunity for Maverick. They're going side by side up the hill along the main straight, and it's already Maverick into P2 before they even get to the braking zone. Nothing Ruben could do about that one, and Maverick takes P2 away from the South African.
And what I really want to check now is the gap between Patrick and Maverick, because I don't think it's Ruben going slow. I think Maverick is just really, really fast, and I reckon Maverick might even be able to get within 9 seconds of Patrick as well, as Patrick picks up another 3-second time penalty. So Maverick just has to stay within 12 seconds of the Williams to get what is an elusive, I think, second win of the season, as Kenners picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could really come into play as A2 UK is hunting the Racing Point down.
Hunting him down, but the tyres are now 5 laps old, those softs on A2 UK's car. They're going to start to fall away in a couple of laps' time. So he needs to be making hay while the sun is shining, although the sun's emphatically not shining here in Interlagos at the moment, as Iceman manages to repass Sudek for P6. Iceman back in his car now, and hopefully not, falling towards the gates of hell or whatever he was doing earlier. So, yeah, I think he's probably going to be okay now, as that's Sipos leading. It's 11.9 seconds with a 12-second worth of time penalty for Patrick. It's right on the edge, and Maverick, as soon as I was saying it, Maverick picks up a 3-second time penalty. You know what? That's his second of the race as well, so he has to be within 6 seconds of Patrick as things stand.
I believe that Patrick will get another time penalty.
Okay. He needs a couple more, though. But yeah, he may well get another time penalty. I mean, Patrick, if you're out at the front, if you've got 12.5 seconds to the cars behind, just give that margin on the apex. You don't need to be pushing that hard. You don't need to be cutting all these corners, extending on the exits as well. You just need to be keeping it smooth and clean and on the black. And Patrick not doing that quite as well as he could be.
I have a feeling that Patrick, because he's jumping in for Sipos Bent, and he's not, a full-time driver, so his points don't count. I think he's just taking this as a practice run and just trying to push as much as he can and just seeing how many time penalties he gets rather than trying to drive the perfect race, as it were.
Yeah, well, he's driving a pretty good one regardless, though, to be honest. It's still looking very, very good from the Hungarian driver. Even if he's picking up these time penalties, the raw pace is pretty astounding, to be honest. 12.1 seconds at the front of the field. We'll never know what it could have been if Iceman had been up there and battling as well, because he had that incident through turn 1 and then had a spin a few laps ago as well before deciding to actually maybe he didn't have a spin. Maybe that was just the beginning of his car doing all kinds of weird and wacky things. And he put on his clown shoes, left the session, came back, took them off again, and now he's back racing in P6, which shows you just how much pace he's had. That
Owen's really closing in onto Elon Tusk right now. They're about to make their way through Juncal. Has Elon disconnected? I don't know. Either way, this is going to be big for Owen because he's got the likes of Kenners, A2 UK, and Ruben all hunting him down for that FXR showdown spot. So Owen needs to absolutely nail this and find those extra points.
Elon Tusk seems to be the AI taking control of his car occasionally. It seems to be ghosting sometimes. Not entirely sure what that's about, but it's giving Owen AK a chance here. Elon, of course, does have that front wing damage that he's carrying from the pit exit here, and it's so easy to do on the pit exit here, but it always makes you feel like such a fool when you do it. And Elon Tusk is struggling in that Alfa Romeo to hold on to any sort of semblance of pace, even though he's on those soft tires and ought to be setting the timing charts alight at the moment with the front wing damage. He just can't do it. And Owen's not on bad tyres either. 6-lap-old mediums. He's got plenty of juice in those to try and take away P8 from Elon Tusk. Up ahead, a 3-second time penalty for Elon. And now around the outside of turn 8 by Owen AK. Take a bow. That's an incredible move from the Norwegian in the AlphaTauri.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Also, just a quick update. Kenners in A2 UK. A2 has been closing in maybe by a little bit under a second a lap, but he's not really closing in too much now. And Kenners, by my calculations, only has 1 time penalty. A2 has none. So unless Kenners picks up a lot of time penalties in the remaining 4 laps, I think he's got P4 in the bag.
Yeah, and I think Kenners will be very happy with P4, given the way the last few races have gone for him. That's a very solid point-scoring result, and especially considering we saw him spin earlier in the race after that battle with Maverick and A2 UK. He spun round, and he's regained P4, and he's 12.3 seconds ahead of A2 UK, who's had his own problems. But nevertheless, Kenners has done a good job of getting back up the order, and he's just had quite a lot of pace today. So kudos to the Racing Point driver. We'll never know where Chegwin would have been in the order today as well. It would have been very interesting to see. Ruben sitting in P3, not falling much further behind Maverick. So once he got to about 1.7, 1.6 seconds, the gap sort of stabilized a little bit between these two. And it feels weird, but maybe there was just that sort of 2-lap section where Ruben's tires had fallen off one cliff and Maverick's hadn't yet. And then after Maverick got past, they sort of evened out again.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Another thing I want to mention is, I think as things stand, if heading into Abu Dhabi, Owen AK and Kenners actually show up and race, I don't think A2 UK has a chance of making it into the top 6. I think Ruben will have a chance, but I don't think A2 really will. And that's devastating for him, considering how quick he has actually been, and just a really unfortunate incident towards the start of the race, and he's had to damage limitations just because of a disconnect, something that he has absolutely no power over.
Yeah, really, really gutting for him. And yeah, it's critical actually, as we're on board with Ruben, that Ruben is staying within Maverick's range here, because Maverick has those penalties. Ruben, I was about to say, doesn't have any penalties to my knowledge. He's got 1 penalty to my knowledge now. Maverick still has 6 seconds. I'm pretty sure of that. So Ruben should still be okay as long as he can keep within 3 seconds. But now he's going to be sweating just a little bit more in that cockpit, because that was a pretty unnecessary corner cut through Ferradura. It wouldn't have gained him any time. It was just a bit of a mistake.
Lowenka's really close in onto Elon Tusk. We've got 2 laps remaining, and that includes for Elon and Lowenka because they have been lapped. In fact, I think they've got Maverick closing in, but he's going to be a bit too far back to really get involved in this.
Elon had his DRS open there, and I don't know how or why, but it's interesting that he managed to have DRS there. Will he have DRS here? No, he will not. He actually picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. That might give Lernkert the chance. He's not going to be close enough. But look how much more pace he's got on the brakes. And Elon actually leaves the door open with the damage. Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe. He actually fights back on the exit, though. So that's pretty good drive there. And he'll understeer through here as well. And this will give Lernkert the opportunity to dive up the inside. There's going to be contact. But it's all okay in the end. The Dutch driver takes the position away up into P9. And Elon Tusk falling further and further down the order. And that's going to be so annoying for him, knowing that that was such an easy front wing damage to avoid. Just a bit of a rookie error coming out of the pits, really.
Yeah, and Elon will be looking at P6, P5, thinking I should have been up there. At the very least at P7, but the reason why Elon was able to fight back was despite him kind of understeering wide with that front wing damage, because he had the wider line, he was able to get on the power a little bit earlier, use the ERS, and really battle. Sudik gets another time penalty, and Owen and Lernkert may actually be able to jump ahead. Elon has quite a few time penalties, so I don't know if he will be able to, as
Lernkert just ran wide through turn 2 there, and that opened the door for Elon Tusk to drive back through. I'm pretty sure Elon has more penalties, so Lernkert should inherit that position regardless. But Elon Tusk fighting back just a little bit here as Lernkert makes the mistake and gives him the opportunity, as now we are, of course, onto the final lap of this race, and Patrick is leading the way. 12.7 seconds to Maverick, so even if Maverick didn't have penalties, Patrick's 12 seconds wouldn't be enough to allow Maverick to steal the win away from him today. And I don't think anyone should be able to steal the win away from Sipos Patrick today, because this has been a wonderful introduction of Sipos Spence's brother to Formula X racing, and he has been absolutely on fire here in Interlagos.
Yeah, it has. What a fantastic drive. Patrick will take the win. 12 seconds worth of penalties, but Maverick has a few himself. And take a look at this. Lernkert all over the back of Elon Tusk, but he can't quite make it work. Maverick has joined in with the battle. Elon will finish ahead of Lernkert, who has more penalties than Elon. Ruben jumps ahead of Maverick by 0.2 of a second. Kenneth will take P4. A2 is hunting Kenneth down, and maybe if he has 9 seconds less worth of time penalties, he might just be really thanking his lucky stars he pushed in that final lap, but we'll just see how close it will be. Kenneth will cross the line. How many time penalties? I think he only had 3 seconds worth, so A2 UK will finish 6 seconds behind Kenneth. A great comeback drive. In fact, 9.7 seconds, so he had a time penalty of his own. Iceman will take P6, Owen P7, Elon Tusk P8 ahead of Sudik and Lernkert.
Yeah, Iceman, the penultimate driver across the line in P6 today. And given all the issues he had, that's not a bad result, to be honest. He's off the podium for only the second time, as Turix is just having a bit of celebration here. Celebrating a P11 finish for the Renault driver. As long as he drives up towards the line and doesn't DNF before the line, he will still claim some points, because we have a different point scoring system here in Formula X Racing, which does reward everyone for every point that you can hold on to. But it does mean that Turek should probably not be crashing into the walls too hard here.
Probably not too hard. And, well, he'll finish eventually. He'll take P11. Some extra points to go Renault's way. But McLaren will jump ahead of them nonetheless in the championship. Good points in for Red Bull. And, you know, we have a big battle on for P3 in the Drivers' Championship. Well, actually, P2 in the Drivers' Championship, because don't forget, it wasn't Sipos Spence racing, it was Sipos Patrick. So Spence won't get the points. So P2 is going to be hard fought for right now. As that's a weird little chicken dance from Patrick, but a great win.
Yeah, weird dance, not a weird race. Very, very good stuff indeed from Patrick. And as you mentioned, yes, Sipos Spence not scoring points today could actually shake things up in the championship just a little bit. Elon Tusk didn't get enough points, I don't think, to take P2 away. And maybe Maverick might be thinking about getting close to Sipos in the championship, though. So that's going to leave things interesting in the final round, as A2 UK ends up the only driver who finished this race to do so without any time penalties to his name. So kudos to him for that one.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, we're going to be heading into a short break. I think there is going to be a straw poll coming out soon. for your vote for driver of the day. I know mine is actually it might surprise people, but mine is firmly going to A2UK. You guys can let us know in the chat and through the straw poll. And if you do have any questions you'd like us to ask our top 3 driver interviews, do drop them in the chat, and we will try our best to bring it up to them. But on that note, we're heading into a break, and we'll be right back. gentlemen, as we make our way to the podium interviews after what was a thrilling round 11 of the Premier X Championship. Patrick took the win, but he's not joining us. Instead, we have P2 man Ruben, Maverick in P3, and Kenneth, who finished in P4 for Racing Point. Let's start off with you, Ruben. Q2, the pace you put on the soft tires, you decided not to follow the herd and go for the mediums. I guess, first of all, what was the thought there?
I just wanted to run the counter strategy to all of the other boys, Maverick, Sipos, Iceman, because I knew if I was going to be on the mediums with them, I would have the same pace in the first few laps and just be stuck with them. Or if I could put on the softs, I can maybe run away and get a gap and pit on the hards. If I can take them longer, it would give me an advantage, and I did. It worked, but the hards were terrible afterwards, which didn't help.
Yeah, and I guess the hards were a little bit hard to drive on. Sorry. Jacob did not look for that. Ruben, you were able to stick with Patrick for quite a while. You had a nice little battle with him. After the pit stops, you just started to gap you more and more, and Maverick was closing in. Did you think that you'd be able to put up a fight against Maverick? Because once he caught up to you, it looked like a pretty just done and dusted move.
No, I didn't think I'd be able to fight it. I knew pretty much in my head that he had some good pace on those hards and he loved them, and I just couldn't get the power down. Every time I pushed the throttle down, it would just squill all the way. Even in lean fuel, it was horrible. Worst tires I've ever driven on. So I didn't think I was going to fight with Maverick, and my tires were older, so I wanted to preserve the life. It would have been nice to keep him behind for longer, but oh well, it worked out in the end.
Moving on to you, Maverick. Well, I don't really know where to start because you had a bit of a crazy race. But at the end, it all kind of worked out. You got P3, and you may be getting one of the penalties rescinded as well, according to what you have told us.
Yeah, it was one of the better races for me. Pace just seemed to be there. I'd done a lot of practice for that race, and it kind of did pay off in the end. Didn't help in qualifying, getting spun around, because it just meant that my tyres went from 5% wear to 20 something just from spinning around. And at the start of the race, I just could not keep hold of A2 UK and Kenners. I was just, every corner I was losing the back end, and it just wasn't going well. The only way that I could get back into that fight was when Kenners spun, and I got back into the fight, and then A2 UK left. And then I pitted, and then the pace on those hard tyres was absolutely incredible. No stopping me, just straight through. it was like Bahrain all over again, just unstoppable. The tyres just felt fantastic, and unfortunately that penalty was always in the back of my mind. I made some mistakes when I got in front of Ruben, which ultimately did cost me that position on track even with the penalties. So, I mean, 2/10 is close enough, but I mean, I could have got that 2/10 quite easily if I had kept my head down and just kind of not thought about the penalties.
Well, either way, a quick drive from you, and well, my calculations, you are either 1 point ahead of Sipos off if your penalty gets removed, and if it doesn't, I think you're going to be 3 points behind him. So
leaves it all for the last race.
Exactly, that's what we like to see. Moving on to Kenners. Blimey, you were fast in Q3. I think that's one of the best qualifying results we've seen. A really good last lap, and I think you were a tenth of the likes of Maverick and Ruben in that really close battle that went all the way up to second.
Oh yeah, I was really happy with it. I think I might have been able to go a little faster, as I think I did lose the back end on 1 or 2 corners, but it was pretty good. And yeah, unfortunately, I messed up my Q2 though. I did my first lap on worn tyres, and then messed up my second. So I started on slightly more worn tyres, but it didn't seem to mess me up at the start, so all good.
You had a good battle as well with quite a few people around, and we saw that A2 pitted. He was going fairly quick. Did you ever think that he might be able to close the gap, or did you know you had it completely under control?
At the start, given he was on softs and he put in the fastest lap, I was like, okay, I might need to start defending soon. But in the end, it was just okay, just about. I ended up getting a penalty though, and I started getting a little bit worried that he would close within 3 seconds, but it didn't end up in the end like that. So it was all good.
Right, and Jacob, I'll leave any further questions to you.
Yeah, I just thought maybe it would be a good idea to get Kenneth's opinion, or just what exactly happened to you when you were spun around, or when you spun around in that battle with A2 UK, and then Maverick just behind you as well at the near the beginning of the race.
Yeah, so Maverick, I wouldn't say was squeezing me. He was going side by side at the end of, I think, into turn 5. Got on the curb and then just kept on putting the power down, which didn't work out and spun around. Bit unfortunate, but I came back pretty well, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, congratulations on that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much covered everything there in the questions, Yousuf. So I don't think I have anything more to ask.
I think that is all that we have a time for then, and we can wrap things up with our usual wrap-ups, to be honest. If our viewers didn't know, we are partnered with Rogue Energy. You can get 10% off their lovely energy drinks using the code FXR101. So if you need some energy drinks, if you feel in need of a burst of energy, then make sure to head on over to Rogue Energy. And if you haven't already as well, make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, drop that like, and you can get involved on Twitter as well with the hashtag FXR. And we will be back next week, Friday, same time, for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the season finale. We'll see you then. Until then, stay fast. See you next week. Goodbye.